Give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yah by way of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. John 5:39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Father's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? And that's what people's problem is. 1 Kings chapter 18. Mm-hmm. 18:1, where we at? Well, let's back that up though and read about this dude one more time in 1 Kings 16:29. Him coming in. Let's do it like that. 1 Kings 16:29. Now, the common theme that we came across so far since we began to look from the split is that the people got caught up in lawlessness because they were directed wrong. They were directed wrong because the kings had more of a desire to have vain esteem than the esteem of Yahuwah, because they wanted honor from men. They didn't want honor from Yah, which is why they had no problem. Jeroboam had no problem setting up a golden calf for the people to worship, and then subsequently all those who came behind him did the same. The only real king of Yehuda that we've really looked at so far is Asa. We talked about Abijam for a little while, but he was wicked as well. He was wicked like Jeroboam, and he did the same. And he did the same thing. He was a wicked man as well. And we didn't talk about Rehoboam too much, but we'll end up coming back to them as well. But right now, let's look at 1 Kings 16:29. And in the 38th year of Asa, Malach of Yehuda, began Ahab the son of Omri to reign over Yashar'al. Ahab the son of Omri reigned over Yashar'al in Samaria 22 years. Ahab the son of Omri did evil in the sight of Yahuwah above all that were before him, and it came to pass, as if it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, that he took to wife Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Zidonians, and went and served Baal and worshipped him. And he reared up an altar for Baal in the house of Baal, which he had built in Samaria. And Ahab made a grove, and Ahab did more to provoke Yahuwah Elohim of Yashar'al to anger than all the malice of Yashar'al that were before him. So we look at good old Ahab, and it said he went and married Jezebel, who was of the Sidonians. Let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. Because it said after it came to pass, if it had been a light thing to walk in the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, he took it up a step further and went and married a strange woman. He took it up a step further and went and did that and began to serve her father's gods. This is what this man chose to go do. And the reason why it focusing on that he didn't even think it was a light thing for him to do this is a simple fact of, is you know that in this law, this man told you not to do this. This man told you not to do this. He explicitly told you not to do this. Why did he tell you not to do this? Because it's right here in the law. We about to read it. And it's just go so tie into another thing that we could be so desirous of having a mate that you'll take anything as long as it please your flesh and as long as it'll go along whatever crap you got going on. You know what I'm talking about? Because you want a husband or you want a wife. So therefore you don't really care if it's pleasing to Yahuwah or not. You don't care if it's in violation. Now this man know full well that he wasn't supposed to marry a woman of this stock. Let's see where it tells you this at. Deuteronomy 7:1. When Yahuwah the Elohim shall bring thee into the land whither thou go to possess it, and have cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. Alright. And when Yahuwah the Elohim shall deliver them from before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following thee. that they may serve other gods, so will the anger of Yahuwah be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. But thus shall you deal with them. You shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. For thou art a Kadesh people unto you, the Elohim, and you, the Elohim, have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Hello?
Hello.
Shalom. So we look at that. It said he thought it was a light thing. He already serving an idol. And what did that idol cause him to do? Go marry Jezebel, a woman who he was not supposed to marry, according to what we read in Deuteronomy 7. And you see why he told you not to do it. Because she would turn your son from following me. And we see that Jezebel most definitely helped precipitate that move. Because you see, he built a house of Baal in Samaria. This is what got Solomon in trouble. And this is the thing that we sit back and we were talking about arranged marriages last week, right, with the children, right? We were talking about that last week, right? You know what I'm saying? That's just something, because I seen another brother discussing that, you know what I'm saying? And just like what he mentioned, like what is, and I'm just stating the question to it. Y'all can answer it if you choose in your own mind or out loud. The brother was like, do you really fall in love with people? Because he was looking at how people can go from boyfriend to boyfriend, girlfriend to girlfriend, husband to husband, wife to wife. I'm more of the thought process of they probably didn't ever actually love these people, just was a lot of lust and infatuation that they were confusing with love, to thinking that they were in love with these people. That's why it was easy for people to go from person to person. 9 times out of 10 people are going from person to person because they're looking for a person to fill a void that only Yah can fill. You know what I'm saying? See, a lot of us be wanting love, and you want somebody to be your companion and care for you, and Yah is the one that you need to fill that void, and you're looking for a flesh and blood person to fill it. And then you know what you end up finding out? That person's not filling that void. So that hole is still there. And you with that person, and you wondering, and that all that happy and butterfly phase, why doesn't it feel any better than what it was when before I got with you? Because you look for a man to feel something that only God could feel. You know what I'm saying? Now with Ahab, clearly he's just a wicked nigga. It's in his bloodline. It's in his stock. Look at his daddy. And look at his daddy's daddy. And his daddy's daddy. That's the line he come from. But there's a reason from this here, right? We're not going to read 2 Corinthians 6 and 14 because you know what, you should know what it says. You should know that it says, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. What fellowship has light with darkness, and Mashiach with the worthless things of the world, with the devil, with the adversary, with things of no consequence? What communion does righteousness have with unrighteousness? I don't understand why, I don't care what manner, form, or fashion it is, why we try to force righteousness and unrighteousness to meet together in agreement. I don't know why we think that that can happen. I don't know why we don't believe when the book says evil communications corrupt good manners. He say, I speak, he say, some of you have not the knowledge of Elohim. I speak this to your shame. If we don't have enough sense to know that sinners will corrupt your behavior in Mashiach, then clearly we ought to be ashamed. Ahab clearly had ought to have been ashamed because of what he had done. He had sat back and he had built a house of Baal in the land to worship an idolatrous God of a wicked woman. Let's look at something in Revelation chapter 2. So now we know Ahab was an old go with the flow type nigga. See, some women like a nigga who just gonna go along with whatever it is that they do, even if that man knows it's wrong, because he doesn't want her to be upset with him. Because that's, and I'm be honest, that's just a weak-willed man. You know what I'm saying? Every man should want his woman to hold him accountable, and every man and every woman should want her man to hold her accountable. If you got a man that can let you do anything that you want, then you don't really have a man. And I ain't talking about straightening you when it's convenient for him to straighten you. I'm talking about straightening you when you know that you're going to be highly upset with him and he doesn't really care. See, most dudes don't want to straighten a woman whether they with her, whether they married to her or they dating her or they like her, for the fear of losing vagina. You know what I'm saying? I done told you this before. Like, you'll notice a punk or tell a woman anything about herself because he has no desire to have sex with her. So that fear of losing sex is not in his brain. You know what I'm saying? If a dude want to have sex with a woman, then he may not tell her certain things that she need to be told because he don't want to upset her. He don't want her to take, you know what, I was going to give him some. Now I'm going to snatch it off the table. That's why dudes don't say certain stuff. You got to pay attention to that stuff. Dudes just go along with anything you got going on. Revelation chapter 2. What verse at? What we want? You know, you should already know what it is. There we go. 2 and hold up, man. Who is this? Hello?
Hey, it's Brittany.
Okay. All right, it's 2 and 18. We'll use 2 and 18. You threw me off for a second. I'm like, dang, who is this? 2 and 18. It saying unto the Malachim of the synagogue in Thyatira, right? These things saith the son of Elohim, who have his eyes like unto a flame of fire, and his feet are like fine brass. I know thy works in charity and service and faith, and thy patience and thy works, and the last to be more than the first. Notwithstanding, I have a few things against thee, because thou suffered that woman Jezebel, which called herself a prophetess, to teach and seduce my servants to commit fornication and to eat things sacrificed unto idols. See, this is what Jezebel had going on, and this is the type of woman that Ahab married, and this caused a major problem amongst the people. And you know, we're going to get into it, most high willing, probably more tomorrow, on the morrow, y'all willing, of the type of things that she had popping. Now, we're going to read about one of the things that this wicked woman had popping, and the fact of that she was killing the servants of Yah. And how she's sitting back. It doesn't go into great detail about her seduction and her seducing of getting the people to worship idols. But clearly we know that she was moving to do this because of her extermination of the prophets. But let's turn around and come back to 1 Kings chapter 18. And let's look at what's going on with that. As I said, it doesn't have a lot in here about Jezebel. You know, a lot of people, according to like what they say about a Jezebel spirit, she gets credit for it, of having a particular spirit, but there's no book for that, so to speak. It's just certain negative attributes that the book has about a woman, and she just gets credit, and they just put her name on that. 1 Kings chapter 18 and verse 1. It said, it came to pass after many days that the word of Yahuwah came to Elijah in the 3rd year, saying, go show thyself unto Ahab, and I will send rain upon the earth. Now, of course, y'all should know that there was no rain coming in the land at this time. I want you to hold this. I want you to come over here to James chapter 5. It wasn't no rain in the land at this time. It don't go into great detail of how that came about. You just know that it hadn't been raining. 5 and about verse 16, I would say. James 5 and 16. It says, confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that you may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man avail much. Elijah was a man subject to like passions as we are, and he prayed earnestly that it might not rain, and it rained not on the earth by the space of 3 years and 6 months. And he prayed again, and the Shamahim gave rain, and the earth brought forth her fruit. Now let me check something right here. Come on back to 1 Kings 17 and 1, and we'll see that what he's talking about. Now I want y'all to also understand when he said that Elijah was a man as like passions as we are, the book is letting you know that Yah doesn't make a distinction on who he'll hear and who he won't hear. It says his ears are open unto the prayers of the righteous. The apostle James is letting that be known that Elijah was not any different than any one of us. And yet Yah hearken unto his voice. And that if you believe in Yah and you trust in Yah and you serve him in Ruach and in truth, he can hearken unto your voice as well. The same way he hearkened unto Abraham to say, hey, if you can find one righteous dude in here, there's many righteous dudes in here, then you know what? I won't kill these people. Sadly for Sodom and Gomorrah, he could not find that. 1 Kings 17 and 1. Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, as Yahuwah Elohim of Yashar'al live, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. And the word of Yahuwah came unto him, saying, get thee hence, and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. Now let's sit back and look at something, right? It said it won't be no rain in the space of this time period, but by his word. John 7 and 37. What we're going to end up looking at is what we're going to see Elijah doing is a parallel to the marriage covenant. And the Rick, I told y'all the reason why that came to my head is my cousin asking about the relevance of actually having one. He was stating like, what if you common law married? Well, I was like, well, shoot, you know, every state don't have that. So I'm like, shoot, man, like you ain't got no business living with a woman 7-8 years without marrying her anyway. You know what I'm saying? So a common law marriage shouldn't even come into play. And why a woman would let a man live with her for 7, 8 years without marrying her is beyond me. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to be the dumbest nigga walking to let a nigga trample up and down in your vagina, and you playing the role of a wife, and this man has not moved forward to make you his wife. That says a lot about him and you, that you would go for that. You know what I'm saying? For that long period of time. You shouldn't go for it, period. You know what I'm talking about? But there's most definitely not no 7 years. You know what I'm saying? 7 years? It don't take that long to figure out if you want to marry somebody. I just had a dude I picked up last night, and he was like, yeah, man, I knew immediately. He said, man, if you don't know immediately, don't do it. You know what I'm saying? And he got a point, because if you got doubts and thoughts about if you want to marry somebody, you shouldn't do it. Mess around, be stuck, and be miserable for the next 20 to 30 years. John 7:37. Because he had an old man baby. He was a little older, had a baby. I picked a dude up today, man, told me his baby died. I don't know why we keep picking these people up who churn died. Because what can you say to that if your child ain't never died? Ain't nothing you really can say, but let them talk. Very, very sad deal indeed. And you know the word Paul was? He say public told him, he told these people that his son just died, and they told him, well, man, 2 people called out from work, man. We really need you to come to work in the deli and fix some sandwiches. He better than me, because I told him to take them sandwiches and shove it up your butt. I'll be here whenever I get here. My son just died. I would think somebody would be able to understand that maybe I need a couple of days off. I'm not in the right frame of mind. My son just died. You know, but shoot, what do I know? You know what I'm saying? I know people whose children have died, and they were not right. I'll tell you that. Say in the last day, that great day of the feast, Yahushua stood and cried, saying, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. He that believe on me, as the scripture hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. But this spake he of the Ruach HaKodesh, which they that believe on him should receive. For the Ruach HaKodesh was not yet given, because that Yahushua was not yet esteemed. Now, when we look at it, when we swing over here, and we're not finna read it right now, you could go get it for yourself and read it for yourself. In Luke chapter 24, and starting at about verse 45, the master told his apostles to stay in Jerusalem until the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh was given. We know from John chapter 14 and 16 how he stated how the Comforter would come and he would not leave them comfortless. But for all intents and purposes, the master preached for 3.5 years, pretty much. Elijah prayed that it wouldn't rain for 3.5 years. These two numbers coincide with one another for a reason, forth of the period of how long that his ministry would be before he sent rain upon the earth. That rain upon the earth is forth as in the Ruach, is symbolic of you actually being married or joined unto him. Once you receive that, it's because you're now a partaker of the covenant. So what we talk about when you get immersed. When you get immersed, you're being a partaker of the covenant, which means you are being married unto this man, joined unto this man. So when you're doing this here, it's certain things that have to come. And what we're going to look at is forth is when you get actually on a natural level getting married with it and a spiritual level getting with it. And this is, I'll tell y'all, this came to me what I was thinking about this for my cousin. Because he was really desirous to know this. Why would you need a piece of paper? Us knowing, being a Yahudim, knowing and understanding the law, that we wrote down everything. Everything. We just didn't do stuff and then it just wasn't there. You understand what I'm saying? Whether it came to a bill of divorce, whether it came to land deeds, whether it came to covenants, whatever the covenant may be, that was written down because there had to be evidence of it. We just weren't going to believe that because you said you're a priest. There has to be evidence written down that you're a priest. There has to be evidence that you're married to this woman. You can tell me you're married to this woman. That doesn't mean that there's your wife. The same way they had tokens of virginity. There was evidence. That's what the Ruach HaKodesh, or the word written on your heart, that's evidence that you married to this man, because that's your wedding garment. This is how you know you're a partaker of that particular activity. Has to be evidence written behind. That's what the purpose of the fringes was. It was evidence of the covenant that you might remember and not go after your own thoughts, hearts, and ways, which is again referring to why this man tell you to stay away from idols, because idols lead to idolatry, and idolatry is basically lawlessness. You can do what you want to do. If you sit back and you look at people who say they Kemetic scientists, or they Buddhists, or they Muslims, or shoot, even some niggas who claim they serve y'all, man, a lot of the niggas do what they want to do, and it shows for who their God is. Because if Yah is your God, you don't do what you want to do. Hello?
Yeah, this time.
Yeah. Nobody care. Like I done told y'all that numerous times, man. Most of y'all got kids. If you tell your kids to do something and they tell you why, because I told you to do it. This is not a democratic society. It's not up for a vote whether you want to do it or not. Do you know what I'm saying? You can do it or you can suffer the consequences for not doing it. Whatever those consequences I prescribe for your violation and your defiance. You know what I'm saying? And you have to understand that. Because none of you are going to let your children, if you got a brain, do what they want to do in your house. You will put them out. You will put them out. You will tell them you can't live here. You can't live here. And that's how Yah feels. You don't want to do what I tell you to do? You don't have to live here. This is bottom line. Let's come on back over here to 1 Kings 18 because we got a lot and I don't want to get ahead of myself. And just consider how evil of a man, because it's the same thing that Esau did. Esau married them Canaanite women because his daddy told him not to. Because Isaac told him not to. So he did it to spite his father. You know what I'm saying? That's why he mentioned he thought it was a light thing. Not only are you worshiping idols, Ahab, but then you go marry this woman who's seducing my people to serve idols. This what type of nigga you is. You want to compound it.
Put it back.
You know what I'm saying? I done told y'all many times before. This is why he tell you not to fool with sinners in that capacity. Because the whole reason why we looking at the split of the kingdom, what started it? Solomon marrying idolaters, marrying strange women. That's what started that's what brought the whole lawlessness into play. That's what got the kingdom split. That's brought with everything into play. Marrying sinners. That's what brought the whole thing into play. Considering a sinner, fooling with a sinner. That's why the kingdom got split. This is why 10 tribes went with Rehoboam and 1 went with Jeroboam. That's why that happened. Hold on. Hello? So we can see why it's so dangerous to fool with idolaters. If we look at the history of our people, looking at the history of our people as we're doing now with all these kings, we see how grievous idolatry is. Idolatry is more than just serving another god. It's a lifestyle that comes with it, and that lifestyle is lawlessness. 18 and 2. 1 Kings 18 and 2. Elijah went to show himself unto Ahab, and there was a sore famine in Samaria. Ahab called Obadiah, which was the governor of his house. Now Obadiah feared Yahuwah greatly. Now this also looks, I got to mention this as well, right? There's a famine in the land because there is no rain. There's no rain because of this man's wickedness, and this is adversely affecting all of the people. You know what I'm saying? That's why, go to Isaiah chapter 3. And again, as we always mention, every week, every time when we start, it said, how can you receive honor that seek the honor one from another, not the honor that comes from Elohim only? When we look at most of these Maliks and most of these kings, and we dealt with what a Malik is. A Malik is supposed to serve, and he's supposed to sacrifice himself for the people. You know what I'm saying? This is what he's supposed to do. But none of these kings of Yashar'al are doing this. They're not sacrificing themselves for the people. So therefore, they're not giving themselves up for the people. So by definition, they're not even close to being a Malik. They're not even supposed to be close to being a king. Because that's what a king is supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? That's what we see that with Mashiach as he manifested that. Then you have to sit back and look, as we talked about this and we went through this. You can't sit back and look at no man and call him a king or call yourself a king, and then you're not following in the footsteps of the Malik by sacrificing yourselves for his sake, because that's what he did. When we look at Ahab, he sacrificed nothing for the people. All he did was bring damnation, pain, and sorrow to the people because he wanted vain esteem and honor for himself. He wanted FaceTime. He wanted acknowledgement. He wanted to be that dude. He wanted people to tell him he was this and he was that. This is why the master warned you about the scribes. All they wanted to be seen in the marketplaces is hearing rabbi, rabbi. And pay attention to that. You know what I'm saying? You got niggas who they just want to be seen for a nigga to tell them, oh yeah man, bruh do this and bruh do that. That's a sucker. You know what I'm saying? That's lame. Because if you own your square and whatever it is that you're doing and you on point, that's gonna come. But if you doing it for that, then that's a void and hole you got in yourself that you might need to reconcile with your own self because you got an issue. Because you need validation from other people. You don't need validation from Yah. You shouldn't be seeking validation from no one but Yah. What you need validation from a man for. Whether it's through a marriage, whether it's through children, whether it's through a job, whatever you're doing, why do you need a man to validate you? Why is your self-esteem tied into human beings? Your self-esteem need to be tied into your God. Your self-worth need to be tied into your God. If it's not tied into that, you're going to always have a hole that you're going to seek to fill with carnal things, and it's going to lead you to the lake. Isaiah 3 and 12. 3 and 12 is not what I desire. It is in chapter 3, though. That sounds like broken glass. Oh, it is in 3 and 12. My apologies. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which leave thee cause thee to err, and destroy the way of thy paths. Now, notice that we talked about Jezebel in Revelation chapter 2, and how she was seducing his servants to sacrifice things to idols and to commit fornication. You know, to lay down with false gods and to become one with them. That is a very, very dangerous thing to do. And you have to sit back and you have to think about this, right? This is why the book tells you to, like he say, he warned you that evil communications corrupt good manners. And he say, if sinners entice thee, my son, consent thou not. You have to think about that because he's warning you about this. The law tells you, we already read in Deuteronomy 7, don't fool with these people because they will stop you from following me. But I've said this numerous times over 5 years. It always has to be reiterated because the book always goes over it because our people always did it. You have to remember one thing. The book of Deuteronomy just means rehearsal. He has to tell you it again because this is a stiff-necked people. We don't listen. You know what I'm saying? We always trying to do what it is that we want to do. And we're always trying to fit our way into his way instead of making his way be the only way. That's why I say he's destroying the way of your paths. Ahab was destroying the people. These people are starving to death because of what he got going on. There's a famine in the land. There's no rain. Since there's no rain, the earth can't bring forth her fruit. Since the earth can't bring forth her fruit, the people can't be fed. And that's going to lead us to something else when, if you're really paying attention, some of you may have already caught what we're talking about when it comes to that. Because right now, we in America right now, right? And in all other four corners where we're scattered. And we're in a dry land. And there's a famine in the land spiritually. And they had a famine in the land physically. And the reason being the people are not bringing forth their bud and their fruit because they're not being watered. And they're not being watered because the people who lead them are destroying them because they don't care nothing about them. They don't really care about you, so they really don't care nothing about what happens to you. That's why niggas enable you in your sin and make you feel comfortable in it. You know what I'm saying? And you sit back and I talked to a young lady about this the other day, right? And, you know, a lot of people went through that verse, you know, when the master told the lady, you know, go and sin no more when she got caught in adultery. But y'all should know that that's Psalms 130. Okay, cool. I just got that, homie. So, Psalms 130. Where he says, you know, if he should mark iniquity, who shall stand? But there's forgiveness with him that you may fear him. Do you know what I'm saying? So you have to sit back and look at that. And see, I'm going to tell you what a nigga do. A nigga do like Jezebel did with Ahab. And like the prophets did with Ahab. You know niggas wrong. You know niggas wicked. You know niggas need a sharp rebuke. You know this nigga needs straightening for a soul. You know the law say don't suffer sin on your neighbor, but anywise rebuke thy neighbor. And you will enable a nigga and in the name of love. You'll enable a nigga in the name of love. You'll tell a nigga you love him and let him die. And let him die. Because you don't really care about that person. Most niggas don't really care about it if you sinning or not. They don't really care. You had to sit back and think about it. You told a nigga you did something worthy of death, and a nigga pat you on your back and tell you it's okay. That's what you need to get from around that nigga. Nigga tell you, hey man, you got to stand up, you got to dust yourself off, you got to tighten up, you got to do better. But if a nigga really kind of comfort you, you don't need no comfort in that situation. And that's what Jezebel did for Ahab. When we get to it, what he did with Naboth, and that's what his prophets did for him in that situation with Micaiah. These niggas wanted to comfort this man. They knew this nigga was wicked. They knew he was wicked. Comfort this nigga and you know he wicked. And you got to know the difference from being wicked. Like I told y'all before, there's a difference. You got transgressions, you have sins, you have iniquity. Well, transgression and sin pretty much the same thing. And you got transgression, you got iniquity, and you have wickedness. And wickedness and iniquity is pretty much on the same parallel line. A transgression is making an error. You did something, whether unknowingly or knowingly. And you have to sit back and look at knowingly, you have a major problem. Iniquity, you have a desperate problem. And wickedness ain't no elixir for you. You pretty much scarred. Hold on, y'all. I'm going to let y'all know something, too, while I pause. I mention this. There is a nigga summit in North Carolina in August. We'll let y'all know if we're going to slide through the nigga summit. We might not make it back alive if we go. Because, you know, they on a different type of time than we is. They going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina. We might not make it out alive if we were to go. You know, we want to live. Nevertheless, come on back to 1 Kings 18. We'll discuss that at a later time. Listen to verse. Yeah, a Hebrew summit, Dominique. A Hebrew summit. A Hebrew summit. They have Hebrew summits throughout the course of the year. One West camps. One West camps. Verse 4, right? Say, for it was so when Jezebel cut off the prophets of Yahuwah, that Obadiah took 100 prophets and hid them 50 by a cave and fed them with bread and water. Now you notice that she's knocking the prophets off. Why is she knocking the prophets off? John chapter 15 and verse 25. Why is she knocking them off? After that, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. Why is she knocking these men off? It's no different than why the beast will knock off the prophets. Because you're preaching something that's different. And you know you already know they preach. And we're going to look at something in Acts chapter 17. It might be 19. We don't deal with no idols. So of course we're going to go against that. But going against that makes her look bad. I'm going to tell you something, right? This is a common tactic. Because I'm going to just keep it hot. You got a nigga, right? Try to sit back and say, okay, we using 48 laws of power to manipulate people. This, that, there, and the third. When niggas actually turned around and were using the tactics of the book on the people who they were claiming that I was using the book on. A book that I purchased that I barely have read since I bought it. Even though I read it in prison, I don't remember everything written in that book. You know how long ago that was? You know what I'm saying? You don't know how many books I've read in my lifetime? You know what I'm saying? Truth be told, no bragging. A nigga done forgot more than most niggas done learn, because that's how much a nigga used to read. I used to read on the block. Have a pocket full of rocks with books in my hand while I was on the block, in the trap, and all of that. Because that's just how I got down at the time. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see the need that, because you sell crack. That, nigga, I read books before I started selling crack. So that's not going to change. You know what I'm saying? That most of my peers, we had high-level conversations on many different topics. Most of the people around were not people of low intellect. They may have not necessarily cared about everything we were discussing, but they weren't people of low intellect. They could have an intellectual and intelligent conversation. You know what I'm saying? But most people don't peep manipulation when they do it. By the time they peep it, it's too late. Most of the time, people think that somebody trying to manipulate them. Usually, I put it this way. Usually when somebody is trying to tell you that somebody is manipulating you, usually it's the person that's telling you that is the one who is manipulating you. And they're using an old bait and switch tactic, misdirection, Stanley, to have you look one way while they're doing something else. You know what I'm saying? One of the best ways to be able to manipulate a person is to destroy another person's character while in the midst trying to make yourself look better. If somebody is sour, you ain't got to say a word. It'll show on its own. People got eyes and people got ears and people pay attention. You know what I'm saying? If you're not paying attention, you're going to get caught up. Jezebel knowing, and the beast as well, knowing that these men's words will have an adverse effect on what they're doing. So let's look at John 15 and 25. John 15:25. Listen to what he tells you. He said, but this come to pass that the word might be fulfilled that is written in the Torah. They hated me without a cause. Now, when we look at what reason would Jezebel have to hate any of these prophets, what were they doing? Well, let's sit back and let's look at this 1 Thessalonians 4, and then we'll swing to Jeremiah chapter 7, and let's see what these prophets were doing. Matter of fact, we'll look at Nehemiah 9 to look at what these prophets were doing. And then we'll come back to the book of Acts. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. We just want one verse here. I could have just told it to you, but sometimes you just need to look at it and soak it in with your eyes. Verse 7 though. 1 Thessalonians 4 and 7. He say, for Elohim hath not called us unto uncleanness, but unto Kadash. He therefore that despise not man, but Elohim, who have also given unto us his Ruach HaKadosh. Now remember, we talked about a couple days ago that if you bring an abomination of idol in your house in Deuteronomy 7, that you would be an abomination like unto it. Therefore you would defile yourself and your whole house. So he's called us to be set apart and not defile ourselves with idols. Well, let's look at Nehemiah chapter 9 and let's see what he sent these prophets to do, which would put a little dent in what Jezebel got going on, which also will put a dent into the beast. Because you got to understand that when the beast arises, he's going to stand up and say he is God, because he wants you to worship him as God. Therefore, you would be committing idolatry, and therefore you would be a partaker of lawlessness, because he is called the man of sin, the man of lawlessness. This is what he is about. Look how idolatry and lawlessness go hand in hand, and how the beast going to come into play. We dealt with this last summer about knowing that the beast is coming to mimic Mashiach. And I told y'all once, and I told you twice, and I'll tell you again, that if you will not die to sin now, you will not physically die when this man pops on the scene. You're not going to do it, because you haven't had the wherewithal spiritually and mentally to do it now. So you need to get your hearts and minds wrapped around doing it now, because they coming. They coming. They coming. You can play with it all you want. They're going to come for you. If you pronounce the name of Yahuwah and Yahusha, matter of fact, man, I'm just keeping it. I don't care what name you say. I don't care if you say Yahweh. I don't care if you say Yeshua. I don't care what you say out your mouth. If you repping that, they coming for you. They coming for you. Because right now they're not coming for you because ain't nobody, they don't care. It's not a reason for them to come for you. They don't care. But when this man stand up and say, you know what, everybody got to worship and serve me. Niggas worrying about Donald Trump. Who cares about Donald Trump? What you care about him for? Who is he? What factor and role does he play? He don't play nan. What you worrying about that nigga in North Korea for? Who is he? He ain't nobody. They doing what they supposed to be doing. Let the that's look at, man, that's Asian and white crime. Let them people kill each other. Who cares? If you know the law, you supposed to know that if you the children of Yashar'al, if whoever where you dwelling at, he ain't gonna let nothing happen to you. Hello? What's happening with it? He ain't gonna let nothing happen to you. But see, most of y'all don't believe that. And even if you did die, most of you ain't really ready to die. You don't want to die because you know it's not going to be well for you when you rise again. Oh, what it is? Nehemiah 9. 9 and 29. We can't be having that type of fear in our heart. Man, that junk ain't what's happening. He saying, testified against them that thou may bring them again to thy Torah. Yet they dealt proudly and hearkened not unto thy commandments, but sinned against thy judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them, and withdrew the shoulder and hardened the neck, and would not hear. Yet many years did thou forbear them, and testify against them by the Ruach and thy prophets. Yet they would not give ear. Therefore gave thou into the hand of the people of the lands. See, all the whole time these prophets are coming out to tell the people to return and put these idols down. Notice the thing that he stepped back and he stated right here. How many years he let these men speak before he took them out. I want you to look at something in 2 Peter chapter 3. Because we were talking about there's no such thing as a grace period. So I know a person would look at that and say, see, no, that's a grace period. That's not a grace period. That is the forbearance and mercy and long suffering of Elohim. That before he took a long time before he smashed Pharaoh. He just ain't smashed Pharaoh off the rip. We knew full well Pharaoh wasn't going to repent. Because before he take you out, he going to make sure that you condemn yourself well, because he is slow to wrath. That's the attributes of Elohim. He's slow to wrath. See, that's the thing we don't sit back and look at. The book say anger rests in the bosom of fools. And that he that is slow to wrath has control of his spirit. Let's sit back and show you that. Because wrath worketh not the righteousness of Elohim. After we read this after we read this 2 Peter chapter 3, we look in James. I'll show you what I'm talking about. See, y'all slow to wrath. Most people not slow to wrath. Soon as they get angry, they want to execute wrath on a person's head. There's times where Yah was angry, and then he repented himself of what he was going to do to the people because of the mercy and love and kindness that he possessed. See, we dealt with this before. People have the love of Yah greatly twisted, greatly confused. You know what I'm saying? Most of his love is in the long suffering of not smashing you upside your head when you deserve to be smashed. You know what I'm saying? Sparing your soul and sparing your life when you ought to die. You know what I'm saying? That's the, like, sit back there. The mercy of Yah is chastising you with correction and rebuke so that your soul might be saved. Because whomever he rebuke and chasten, he love. Therefore, be zealous and repent. But see, nobody wants to look at that. You know what I'm saying? His love is encapsulated in many different forms, fashions, and ways. You know what I'm saying? And as we talked about last week, it's encapsulated in an action. It's not a feeling in Yah that he loved his people. He loved Abraham because he chose him, but he also loved Abraham because of what Abraham did. Abraham believed in him, and he served him with the whole mind, the whole heart, and the whole soul. The same reason why he loved David. He didn't love Ahab for no other reason because Ahab did not love him. He said, I love those that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me. That Proverbs 8:17. That's what he told you. He loved those that love him. And that's not a feeling or an emotion. Those are those reciprocating the love unto him that he has reciprocated unto us. We like to scream that Elohim is love and Yah is love, but then we don't manifest his love in how we live back unto him. And we have to be careful with that, because individuals like to throw love in your face as a cap game for their wickedness on the low. Reason being is because people are desirous of being loved in whatever fashion that is. Whether it be a man and a wife, whether it be friends, whether it be family, people, because especially with our people, because most people have not been loved and most people have not seen love. Therefore, they have a hole and a desire for it, and they chase after it like a fiend after a high, looking for it and longing for it. And when people come in the word, niggas take advantage of them with that particular term and throw it around loosely to cover up their wickedness and to make people feel strengthened in their wickedness that they're committing, not truly manifesting that Yah's love is deep and intensive and is action based, and there are certain things that will be considered to be unpleasant to the natural man, a part of his love, but to the spiritual man they bring delight. Nevertheless, 2 Peter chapter 3. What's the verse we want here, man? 3 and 13 is good. 3 and 13 is good. After that, I think it's James chapter 2. Then we got to hit Acts 16. And then slide back to Kings, because I got to get ready to get to the meat of the matter. Because it's long and I don't want to miss nothing. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new Shamahim and new Arats wherein dwell righteousness. Wherefore, beloved, seeing that you look for such things, be diligent that you be found of him in shalom without spot and blameless. And account that the long suffering of our master is salvation, even as our beloved brother Paul also, according to the wisdom given unto him, have written unto you. My apologies. I should have started at verse 8, verse 9. But that verse was well. Let's read verse 9. He said, but the master is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering to us ward, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. And it's the same thing when we looking at verse 15. That long suffering, or how long you read in Nehemiah that he took to crash their head, is for salvation. That's why you don't call it a grace period. Long suffering is suffering injury with patience. So he's suffering our manner so that we can be saved. We look at the grace period that, oh, I got time to get it right. No, you don't have time to get it right. You ought to move as it says, as today is today, harden not your hearts. Because if you feel like you have time, your heart could get hardened while you're dealing with the deceitfulness of sin. Don't be fooled by that. Sin deceives and slays. So if you know you need to put an issue away today, put it away as far as behavior is concerned. And that's why we read that James, confess your fault. If you got an issue or a pain or whatever it is that you're dealing with, then let that be known. You know what I'm saying? You can't heal what you don't acknowledge. You know what I'm saying? That can't be healed if you don't acknowledge it. If you acknowledge it, then the people can begin to do two different things. They can begin to pray for you, and then they can begin to assist you in healing that. But if it's not never mentioned, you can't heal from it. So therefore, you're going to carry it with you. And you're going to keep carrying it with you, and it's going to continue to manifest in your behavior. Just as the example we gave, that if you have a lust problem, marriage is not going to get rid of your lust. It's just not going to do it. You know what I'm saying? If you have a desire to be loved, getting married is not going to fill that hole. Because that person can't fill that hole, because only God can fill it. Once he fill it, then you can do that. I told y'all in the past, you can't trust somebody if you don't trust y'all. And you can't love nobody if you don't love y'all. Because clearly if you don't love y'all, you don't love yourself. Clearly if you don't trust y'all, you don't trust yourself. Because you won't even trust what you'll do. You know what I'm saying? So you have to take this into account. The book tells you, as a man thinketh, so he is. So whatever you thinking in your heart about yourself, that's what's going to manifest itself on the outward. If you think you're worthless, it's going to show that you're worthless. If you're unconfident in yourself, it's going to manifest itself. If you got anger problems, if you got insecurities, whatever the insecurities may be, it's going to manifest itself. Everybody got insecurities, and everybody got things they self-conscious about. You know what I'm saying? It's dealing with acknowledging what those things are and moving past them so that they don't be a hindrance to the pathway of your soul. Because there's some things that once you acknowledge them, only you can really fix them. Sometimes it's just good for you to talk to somebody about it. I just had a brother call me the other day and talk to me about something. Something that he dealt with, that somebody said something to him that was very hurtful. And as he went through the course of the conversation, it was very evident that the person who said that to them, that it had absolutely nothing to do with him. And that was the insecurities of the individual. And because they were hurting, they turned around and hurt them because they had not dealt with the issue that they had. They never dealt with it. And that he knew that they had this issue. He had already known that. And then sitting back looking at the situation as a whole, he could see that that's what it was, and that it really didn't have anything to do with him. Though nevertheless, those words were hurtful to him, which was spoken. See, and we don't sit back and look at that. That sometimes what people say to you or do to you have absolutely nothing to do with you. And it's really just them and the stuff they dealing with that they haven't dealt with. And they don't know how to, maybe they don't know how to express it. Maybe they don't want to express it. Sometimes some people just evil though. Nevertheless, James chapter 2, I believe. And that's just the last fault. Again though, some people are just evil. Ain't nothing really we can say. It's James chapter 1 too, my bad. James 1 and 19. I just hate to put it that way, but unfortunately some people are just evil. And yeah, ain't nothing you could do about that. Some people just evil. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. For the wrath of man work not the righteousness of Elohim. Wherefore lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word which is able to save your souls. So notice that wrath, it don't work the righteousness of Elohim. And that's what you're seeing with Jezebel. She killing the prophet. She's manifesting her wrath. Same thing you're seeing with the beast. They manifesting their wrath. Same thing you're seeing with the scribes and Pharisees. They were manifesting wrath. Now let's come over here to Proverbs chapter 6. And let's look at some of the violations that... No, we're going to wait for Ahab. We're going to wait for that. We got more to read for Ahab on that. Acts chapter 16. We got to get deeper in Ahab's story before we pull Proverbs chapter 6 out to line him up with like we've been doing. We got a little bit more to read in his story before we do that. Acts chapter 16. Where's that verse at that we want there? Make sure it's what I want. Or we might have to swing to 17. Yeah, Acts chapter 16 and verse 16. Listen to what it says. It came to pass as we went to prayer, a certain damsel possessed with a ruach of divination met us, which brought her masters much gain by soothsaying. So you know, if you got a old spirit of divination or stuff like this here, psychics or whatever you want to call it. You're dealing with idolatry. And they making gain off of this young woman doing this work of idolatry. The same followed Paul, and thus cried, saying, These men are the servants of the Most High Elohim, which show unto us the way of salvation. And again, that's going back to what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. That unclean spirit knew exactly who Paul and Silas were. They knew exactly who they were. Don't think that these unclean spirits and these Malachites, these people, your name is, if you are ordained to be saved, your name is already written on high. These people, these ministering ruachs already know who you are. They already know who you are, and they already know who you belong to. They already know. They know who Yahushua were the same way. Say, Paul, I know. Yahushua, I know. Nigga, who is you? They already know. And she did many days, but Paul, being grieved, turned and said to the Ruach, I command thee in the name of our master Yahushua HaMashiach to come out of her. And he came out that same hour. And when her masters saw that the hope of their gains were gone, they caught Paul and Silas and drew them into the marketplace unto the rulers, and brought them to the magistrates, saying, These men, being Yahudim, do exceedingly trouble our city, and teach customs which are not law for us to receive, neither to observe, being Romans. And the multitude rose up together against them, and the magistrates rent off their clothes and commanded to beat them. And when they had laid many stripes upon them, they cast them into the prison, charging the jailer to keep them safely. Now, the reason why we read that is to go along the lines of what you got with Jezebel killing the prophets. Because what we read in Nehemiah 9, what were the prophets doing? Like we read in 1 Thessalonians 4, he that despised Elohim and not man. Those people in that city were not mad at Paul and Silas. Jezebel was not mad at those prophets. You understand what I'm telling you? The beast is not mad at you. They mad at Yah. But I told you numerous times before, they can't take that anger out on him, so they take it out on you. They take it out on you. Now, these men were so mad that they say, man, these men are teaching us customs which are not lawful for us to receive. What were they teaching them? To serve the true and living Elohim and to stop serving idols. Because idols let you do what you want to do. And they said, we got to get them niggas out of here, because they stopping us from doing what we want to do. That's why they said they hated him without a cause. What cause did they have to hate Paul? What cause did they have? That's why he say the wrath of man don't work the righteousness of Elohim. They did not work the righteousness of Elohim doing that to these men. These men were mad because they lost gains of manipulating and fleecing the people for devils. That's what they were doing. And that's what you got to pay attention when you look at manipulation. That's what I meant. What I did. Paul and them did nothing wrong, but yet they had to make Paul and them seem bad in the eyesight of the people because they the ones in the wrong. So what's the best thing to do is to insult and assassinate their character. What wrong did they do? They didn't do anything. They did something that these people didn't like. There's a difference. Chapter 17. Chapter 17, verse 22. Got to know the difference between somebody wronging you and somebody doing something you don't like. Because they may have did something you don't like, that don't mean they wronged you. Because if that's the case, then the Messiah wronged everybody, because he did things that they didn't like. He healed people on the Sabbath. They didn't like it. Was he wrong? Did he do something wrong? No, he did not. He didn't do anything wrong. But they didn't like it, though. So is he wrong? So you got to sit back and you have to have your discernment and your perception on how to judge matters and how to judge who is just and who is unjust. You even sit back to be able to judge yourself to make sure that you're not reprobate. Are you just or are you unjust? Because it say examine yourselves whether you be in the faith or not. Examine yourself by the word. And if there's something that you are not in line with the word, what are you going to do? Are you going to make an excuse for it, or are you going to amend your behavior? That's it. Lay aside the superfluous naughtiness and receive the engrafted word, which is able to save your soul. Become one with it. Become one with the word. That's it. 17 and 22. Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, Ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things you are too superstitious. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God, whom therefore you ignorantly worship him, declare I unto you. Elohim that made the world and all therein, seeing that he is master of Shamahim and Arats, dwell not in temple made with hand. You know, it's still funny to me that niggas is still screaming about, oh, you sinning if you go in a building because he don't dwell in temple made with hands. Do you understand how spiritually retarded and stupid you have to be if you've been in the word 2, 3, 4, 5 years and you don't understand what that means? Because he still built a temple, and he said, will he dwell in this temple? Shamahim or Shamahim can't contain him. Because Yahuwah never desired to dwell in a building. He desired to dwell in you. That doesn't mean that there's not a house of worship that you go into where you can serve him. That's how dumb niggas is. Because there's a dude right now telling people they sinning if they go in a building. I seen a nigga tell a nigga, if you pay rent or mortgage, you sinning. This nigga ride around look like he smell like a polecat. Smoking weed, preaching niggas the word. I'm not finna look at a nigga I'm not finna listen to a nigga who look like he ain't bathed in 3 weeks. And I'm not being funny. That nigga look like he ain't bathed in 3 weeks. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not finna listen to this nigga, you look stink. I know full well I ain't finna listen to a nigga who don't bathe. You know what I'm saying? Like, straight up and down. You don't bathe, man. How could you be clean if you ain't even... How can you be give me a word that's clean from the inside and you ain't even clean on the outside? That's my point. Because that says a lot about you. You have to look at certain things people do naturally. That say a lot about you. Some things could be your idiosyncrasies. Some things could just be you may not be aware that you do certain things. Some things you just nobody ever pointed it out that you might change it. And some things are just you. What we at? Verse 25. Neither is he worshipped with men's hands as though he needed anything. Seeing he give life to all, he give life to all life and breath and all things. Come over to Psalm 50, just so you can know it's not like he need anything from you. Because he certainly don't need nothing from you. And not just like, and because when he said it, it bring a memory to my head. Psalm 50 and verse 7. Hear, O my people, and I will speak, O Yashar'al, and I will testify against thee. I am Elohim, even thy Elohim. And I will not reprove thee for thy sacrifices or thy burnt offerings to have been continually before me. And I will take no bullock out of thy house, nor he goats out of thy folds. For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle upon 1,000 hills. And I know all the fowls of the mountain and all the wild beasts of the field are mine. And if I were hungry, I would not tell thee, for the world is mine, and the fullness thereof. Will I eat the flesh of bulls, or drink the blood of goats? Offer unto Elohim thanksgiving, and pay thy vows unto the Most High. Keep that in mind when he talk about pay thy vows. This man said, I don't want nothing from you other than for you to offer a sacrifice of thanks and to do what you say you're going to do. That's what he said he wants you to do. To be thankful and to do what you say you going to do. When you got it, and we're going to read it, when you went in that water and you came out that water, you said everything in this covenant we will do. And you should have been thankful because you know that this is representative of this man saving your soul from death because he offered himself. So how you going to take hold of a covenant and not do what you say you going to do? How? How is that going to happen? If you hadn't been partaker of the covenant yet, you heard the word, whatever case may be, and you were wilding, okay, cool. Because technically, you still alive. Technically, according to the word, you still alive. But the minute you hit that water, you supposed to have been dead to sin, to alive to righteousness. So you should be dead. That does not mean, at the same token, that if you had not been immersed and you had been wilding and you knew what time it was, that just doesn't mean anything. Because you could still get chastised for it. Don't necessarily mean you could be cut off. But boy, if you done did that and you done died in this man's name, you have a problem. You have a serious problem. Because you have counted the covenant of Mashiach an unset apart thing, and done despite the ruach of favor, this gift that you did not deserve. Y'all have to keep that in mind, and it's to keep being hammered into your brain. He did not have to die. He chose to do it. He did not have to do that. He didn't owe you that. He could have let you die in that covenant, and he could have got him another people. And not only that, he could have allowed you to just die, period. He could allow his whole creation to die off and then make a new one. And just be done with all of us and then make a new one. You got to understand that. You have to really weigh that out the next time you think about going to do something stupid. That he could just let you die, but he chose not to because he loved you. See, that's it. That's an example of his love, is doing something for you that I didn't have to do, so that when I did it, that you might respect, fear, and tremble at the thought of my name. Not the hearing of his name, not the reading of his name, the thought of his name. That when you think the word of the name of Yahuwah, your knees go to shaking. Oh, I'm not going to do that. And we don't have that. Because we hear it don't enable no fear in your heart to respect this man. And I ain't talking about that, you know what I'm saying? That, you know exactly what I mean. That dead, most of us never had a father. And if you did have a father, he may have not gendered that level of respect in you, the way you respected him like that. That you wouldn't dare go against his word, not just for the wrath that he could bring upon your head, just for the look of disappointment in his eyes if you went against what he instructed you to do. That would probably be more devastating to you than any manner of corporal punishment that he could inflict. And most of us didn't have that. Most of us didn't respect our parents enough to do what they told us to do on a consistent basis, because we were always trying to figure out a way to rebel. So then when we come with Yah, because our parents let us and still loved us and let us slide with our rebellion, we thinking that Yah gonna let us slide with the rebellion. And it don't work like that. It don't work like that. That man's not on that. He's not feeling that. And we have to sink that in our brain. Where we at? Let me finish this Acts 17, man. Let me finish this Acts 17. Because what it is, it's 10 o'clock. I got the roll tide roll. He said, he has made of one blood all nations of men for to dwell on all the face of their rats, and have determined the times before appointed in the bounds of their habitation, that they should seek Yahuwah if they happily might feel after him, and find him, and though he be not far from every one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, and as certain also of your own poets have said, for we are also his offspring. For as much then as we are the offspring of Elohim, we ought not to think that the Elohim head is like unto gold or silver or stone or graven by art and man's devices. In the times of this ignorance Elohim winked at, but now he command all men everywhere to repent. See, at the time he winked at that sin, right? I see you. It's all gravy, baby. It's not gravy no more. His son done died. It's not gravy no more. It's not. 1 Kings chapter 18. And we need to look at it, everything that we doing. It's just to have that level of respect. Your ancestors didn't have that respect. They didn't have it. They didn't have it. They didn't see him. They didn't fear him. They didn't respect him. You can't love someone you don't respect. You can't tell me you love Yah and you don't respect him. Because the book says the fear of Yah is beginning of wisdom, and that the fear of Yahuwah is clean and right altogether. The fear of Yah will make you pure. But see, that fear has to, that respect level has to be turned into, has to manifest to that level of love and respect that you would have for somebody that you don't want disappointed in you. Not just, I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to go to hell. Because you will go to hell because you really don't love him at that point. All it's going to take is a certain situation or circumstance to occur, and you will fold under it and seek after your own will, because you're not cleaving under him for love. You're cleaving under him because you're scared of a punishment. You know what I'm saying? The master knew he was going to die. He didn't sit back and be like, oh, I'm only doing this so I can get resurrected from the dead. He was doing it because he wanted to do it. He loved him and he wanted to do it. He was hurt in that he feared, because he respected his father, that even in the face of adversity, he would stick to the plan and love his father and carry out his father's commands. Even in the face of adversity. And you have to keep that in mind. In the face of adversity, that's when your spiritual metal is tested. Your metal is not tested when everything's going smooth. Your metal is tested when adverse situations occur, when tribulation occurs. Because then it's going to show if your house is built on solid rock or on sand. Are you going to stumble or are you going to stand? Nevertheless, where we at? 1 Kings 18. We got to drop down some because this is Obadiah telling about what he was going to do with him. About, he didn't want to die and things of that nature. We drop down to about verse 17. And let's get to the crux of dealing with this marriage covenant and things of this here, because I got to work some stuff in Hosea in. And I got to get that stuff in Hosea in, y'all with him. And it came to pass when Ahab saw Elijah that Ahab said unto him, art thou he that trouble Yashar'al? Notice that he said Elijah is troubling Yashar'al. How? How? That's how they felt about Mashiach. He was troubling the people. How? How is this man a trouble? Let's see what Elijah say back to him. He answered, have I not troubled Yashar'al, but thou and thy father's house? And that you have forsaken the commandments of Yahuwah, and thou have followed Balaam. And see, the reason why I sit back and look at this is to sit back and look at it right. That's how wicked people are. This man Elijah is coming saying and doing the things that are right, and they're calling him a troublemaker. The same way they did with Paul, them, what we just read in Acts 16. But see, you see Elijah's a gangster. He kept it 100 with him. You the one troubling Yashar'al. You in your daddy's house. You and Omri, nigga. And the rest of your bloodline. Because you got my people out here worshiping idols. You got my people out here turning from our Elohim. Therefore, his wrath is on our head because of you niggas. Because of you niggas. You know what I'm saying? Let's just keep it real with it. And that's the part I don't understand. Is how people can know a nigga could be openly wicked and rock with that. Openly. Openly. I'm talking about, you know this nigga's wicked. There's no in between. You should know wickedness and you know the book. Nevertheless. Now therefore send and gather to me all Yashar'al and the Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of the groves 400 which eat at Jezebel's table. So Ahab sent unto the children of Yashar'al and gathered the prophets together under Mount Carmel. And Elijah came unto all the people and said, how long halt you between two opinions? If Yahuwah be Elohim, follow him. And if Baal, then follow him. And the people answered not a word. Now what do y'all take from that when he said how long you gonna be between two opinions? What do y'all take from that? How long you gonna halt between two opinions?
I take from that basically you halt between the truth and a lie. Like how you gonna be between these two things? You gotta pick a side.
Absolutely. Are you gonna serve the true and living Elohim, or are you gonna serve nothing? Truth or lies? You know what I'm saying? Salvation or the lay? Which one you gonna choose? And that's what people's problem is you halting between two opinions. That man said, I would rather you be hot or cold than lukewarm. You can't halt between two opinions. He said, you gonna serve Baal or you gonna serve Yah? Now let's look at something, right? Hosea chapter 2. Hosea chapter 2.
Is it chapter 10?
2, my bad, 2. Chapter 2. Let's say about 2 and 15. 2 and 14 is good. And after that, we'll look at Isaiah 54 and swing to Revelation 19. Hosea 2 and 14. Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her. And I will give her vineyards from thence in the valley of Achor for a door of hope. And she shall sing there as in the days of her youth, as in the day when she came up out of the land of Mizraim. And it shall be at that day, saith Yahuwah, that thou shalt call me Ishi, and shalt call me no more Bali. Now this say you'll sit back and look at it. He say you're going to call him your husband. And you won't no longer call him your master. Because that's all this old Baal name mean is master. You're not going to be serving this idol god anymore for all intents and purposes. Because now you will no longer be halting between two opinions. Now what's causing the people to halt? It's the same thing when Mashiach came. The people were halting between two opinions. We kind of talked about it last week. They were divided. They didn't know what to do. Should we stick with this over here, or should we go with this over here? But the people who don't know the law are cursed. Now let's look at what he told you in Isaiah 54 before we come to Revelation 19. See, at the end of the day, you do have to pick a side. There's no gray area. You can't toe the line. You're either going to be with righteousness or you're going to be with wickedness, but you're going to have to choose. And then you sit back and you look at it. And we haven't get into that in great detail. Y'all willing, when we get towards the end of this particular matter, we'll come back, which I told you with Saul and David, because that wasn't technically a split in the kingdom, but it was a split in the kingdom, because some of the people went with Saul and some of the people went with David. Some of the people went with Saul, knowing he was wicked, knowing everything that he did, and they went with him because they just wanted to remain loyal to him, because they had already been down with him, regardless of the fact that Yah cut him off and took the kingdom from him. They still went with him. They still went with him. And some of the people went with David. You know what I'm saying? This stuff happens in the book of these type of splits going on. And people choosing a side. Because you have to choose a side. There's not in the, you can't be in the middle and be like, let me see what happens. It doesn't work that way. You either gonna go with, you like to say, you're gonna go with David or you're gonna go with Saul. You're going to go with Elijah or you're going to go with Ahab. But you're going to have to pick one. You're going to go with Yah or you're going to go with Baal. But you got to pick one. You can't be dancing between the two. Because that's what our ancestors were doing. We'll serve Baal over here. Maybe we'll serve a little bit of Yah. Come over here, go to Baal's house. Come back to Yah's house. That man got tired of that. He got tired of that. You can't do that. And you know how evil that is? That's like a dude or a woman that got two men or two women, and they bounce up between the two because they don't know which one they want to pick. So they want to see which one going, basically make it a competition. Which one will do me better? Which one will give me this or do that? That's very selfish and very evil. And truth be told, shows a lack of love for both parties, because someone who loves you would not do that. They wouldn't do you like that. And there's no way we could say we love Yah and we were doing that. There's no way in the world. Because we were going to where we felt like it was, that's what I want to look for, more advantageous for us at that particular time. It says that in Hosea 2 and we didn't read it. Oh, he gave me all my corn and flax, but let me go back to my first husband because it was better for me then. That's evil. That is very, very evil. And guess what? That man still took you back. 54 and 5. For Yahuwah, for thy maker is thy husband, Yahuwah of hosts is his name. And thy redeemer, the Kadesh one of Yashar'al, the Elohim of the whole Arat, shall he be called. For Yahuwah have called thee as a woman forsaken, grieved in Ruach, and a wife of youth, when thou was refused, saith the Elohim. For a small moment I have forsaken thee, but with great mercies will I gather thee. In a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, saith Yahuwah thy Redeemer. This man say with everlasting kindness he'll have mercy on you. Now I was going to get Revelation 19, but we're going to wait. Because Revelation 19 is not really fitting in the framework of where my mind is right now. Hosea chapter 3 though. Now when you turn around and we look at stuff, right? When we look at Yah, because we're dealing with Yah basically marrying the people again. That's what we finna sit back and look at it in a different aspect. And then you sit back and we look at it and you're a man. And you say, this is what I want for a wife. These are the characteristics and attributes that I want for a wife. And if you saw a woman who possessed it and know that Yah put her at your front door, would you take her or would you cast her away for somebody that you might feel was more appealing to your eyes? Even though her insides and inward parts were no comparison to the woman that Yah set before you. The reason I mention that because the book tells you that a woman who fears Yah, she shall be praised. That favor is deceitful and beauty is vain. That those things are worthless. The reason why I state this here is because, and I'm looking at this here thing about what the brother was talking about, looking at us being in America and how we choose mates, or being in Western civilization is better to put it versus being in America. But Western civilization and thought process. I know some of y'all don't went to college. Y'all probably took humanities classes in Western civilization. I know I took them, and it kind of gives you the aspect of how these people think. Because Western civilization is prominent in Europe, though it's in the Eastern Hemisphere because it's a culture and a thought process. And they don't choose their mates based on how people in Eastern culture chose their mates. Truth be told, their mates were chosen for them, as we already mentioned. You know what I'm saying? And they would try to choose people of similar beliefs and values, how they would match up their children. You know what I'm saying? So if we sit back and we say, I'm a man of Yah, I'm a woman of Yah, and then we say that we love Yah, and we say we know that Yah is long suffering, he's merciful, he's wise, he has the knowledge, you know, that sit back and say the woman, she's meek, she's kind, she's wise, she has all of these attributes, and then we get in the word and pick people who are the direct opposite of the attributes that we say we desire. The reason why I say this is because we were in Mizraim desiring salvation, crying out for Yah, crying out for our husband, even though we didn't know he was our husband at the time. He manifests himself to Moses, and Moses manifests the signs that Yah gave to him to Aaron, and Aaron manifests the signs to the people, and the people are ready to be joined to their husband. Then we make a covenant with this man, and this man manifests what type of man that he is, and we say these are the attributes we desire in a man, and the first chance we got, we chose attributes that were directly and diametrically opposed to everything that we say that we wanted in a husband. And then tried to make those things that were diametrically opposed to what we say we desired as a husband, and try to make it that when it could never be that in the first place because it wasn't in it. This is how backwards and stupid and retarded that our thought process is as a people. This is why he say, learn from the things your ancestors did, because he said that you might learn by them. That these things were written for our learning, and we have to break it all the way down to a micro and a macro level to see that how we manifest, how we deal with people in our natural lives. That's how we feel about Yah. Because how can we say we the people of Yah, and I want a virtuous woman, and everything the book say a virtuous woman is, and then have one in your face, and then pick a woman who is not that, and then hope you can turn her into that when you already had that in your face? You know what I'm saying? How can you say, I want a righteous man, I know the book say a righteous man is this, that, and the third, because I love Yah. Have that in your face, and then pick somebody different. And that's why he said, how do you halt between two opinions? Because you had Yah in your face, and you picked Baal and tried to make Baal Yah. But you found out that Baal was not Yah, so you kept running back to Yah. But then you want to run back to Baal, and then you want to run back to Yah. That's what we were doing. That's what we were doing. And it did go to show that what we say we desire in Yah, we don't really want it, because it shows in the people that we choose to have around us. And that's why you got to pick a side. You can't halt between two opinions. If you're going to be with righteousness, then be with righteousness. If you want a righteous husband, then marry a righteous man. If you want a virtuous woman, then virtuous wife, then marry a virtuous woman. If you want a true and living Elohim, then serve the true and living Elohim. You want an idol, serve Baal. Plain and simple. That's it. Hosea 3:1. Because we talking about joining to this covenant, right? Because he said you wouldn't call him Baal or Baalah no more. You call him your husband. Well, let's see why you'll call him your husband. Then said Yahuwah unto me, go yet love a woman, beloved of her friend. Now we got to pull some of these words up. He told you go love a woman, beloved of her friend. And this is the thing we were talking about too, right? How many of y'all gonna go marry a whore because y'all told you to go marry a whore? Ain't too many people finna go do that. They're gonna be like, I don't want to marry her. She's a whore. She's a whore. I don't want to marry her. Why I got to go marry her? Because y'all was trying to show this man something. And I'm going to show y'all something too, right? It said, go love a woman, beloved of her friend, yet an adulteress, according to the love of Yahuwah towards the children of Yashar'al, who look to other gods and love flagons of wine. When we look at flagons here, that word is a shisha, and it's a raisin cake used in sacrificial feasts. Now let's sit back and look at it and show who they love when they say they love flagons of wine. Jeremiah chapter 7, I want to say. Let's see, so you can see who they love. So you can see why he said that. He was telling him to go marry a woman who liked to cheat on her husband, so that you can see the love that he had for Yashar'al, because she liked to cheat on her husband. Do you know what I'm saying? And I guarantee you that 99.9% of the men walking this earth would not have went and done that. They wouldn't have done it. They wouldn't have done it. So I'm not marrying that hoe. I don't care what you say. I ain't doing it. Remember Hosea? Name, this is the name that Yahushua son of Nun name was before his name was changed. And you know that this dealing with that name means salvation. So your salvation sat back and look at, let me join myself to a woman who is a whore. Because my father told me to do it. Do you know what I'm saying? This is the love of Elohim right here. I am going to marry a woman that should not have a husband. She is not worthy of a husband. But yet the love that I have towards this people, I want you to manifest it to this woman. More people ain't going to do that. Make sure I'm in the right place. There we go. Jeremiah 7:17. Jeremiah 7:17. I didn't want y'all to. Like I said, man, the only, like you say, if I tell you you say you can't understand heavenly things if I don't tell you of earthly things. And that's why the word always breaks his relationship down between a man and a woman, or a man and his friend, or a father and his child. Because these are interpersonal relationships that most of us have partook in and can relate to, and you can understand what he's trying to tell us. Then you can understand your own behavior. You can understand your own thought process, because that's how we think. We don't want to chastise our children because we didn't like it when y'all chastise us. We say we want righteousness, but yet we don't choose that in mates or friends. You know what I'm saying? We say we want to serve God, but yet we serve gods that let us do what we want to do. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I can look at that. As a woman, y'all chose us. We didn't choose him. But we didn't want to serve him because everything that he required of us. He had a standard, and he wasn't going to accept mediocrity from us. He wanted us to be a great wife, a virtuous wife, that a man could proclaim and show around the whole earth that look at my virtuous wife. But instead we wanted to serve Beli because Beli would let us do what we wanted. See, y'all wasn't going to give us everything that we wanted when we wanted it, how we wanted it. But Beli didn't care. So let me go serve him. You know what I'm saying? Or to the flip side, a man, though you can't really just flip and use y'all in the feminine aspect, a man who's a little boy and weak won't want a woman who's going to hold him accountable, that doesn't do anything for him. Do you know what I'm saying? So he's going to flee, and he's going to find a woman weaker who will go for whatever he says and prop up his ego and his insecurities to make himself feel better, to make himself feel like a man when in actuality he's a little boy. A man will have no problem with the woman who holds him accountable. He will hear, he will hearken, and he will move to do what that woman told him to do for one reason and one reason alone, because he knows this woman cared about him, because she cared enough to tell him about herself. You know what I'm saying? She cared enough to do that, and that's not going to bother no man. That bothers little boys. That's how we move. Y'all cared enough about us to tell us about ourselves. We didn't like it. Let me find somebody else. That's how we operate. That's how we serving our God. That's why our soul's in trouble. 7 and 17. See thou what they do in the cities of Yehuda and in the streets of Jerusalem. The children gather wood, and the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the queen of heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto other gods, that they might provoke me to anger. Do they provoke me to anger, saith Yahuwah? Do they not provoke themselves to confusion of their own faces? This is what we end up, and that's why I mentioned all that, what I just mentioned. Whether it's just dealing with a man or a woman or your friends or your children, all this stuff that we doing, we provoking this man to anger, and we confusing ourselves because we love to eat things sacrificed to devils. We love people who serve devils, who serve wickedness. We love it. And he said, you know what? Go marry a woman like that. Go marry a woman like that. That's how much that man. Sit back and you think about it, right? Now I'm going to tell y'all something, and I want this to be very, very, very clear. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and about verse 9 tell us every sin you can almost think of, whether it's fornication, adultery, whoremongering, homosexuality, drunkenness, lying, stealing, extortion, whatever the case may be. All of us have partook in that at one point in time. And when I say all of us, I'm meaning that everybody's been a whoremonger, a fornicator, and a homosexual, all that. All of us done did those things, but you've been washed and you've been cleansed by the sanctification of the Ruach and the blood of Mashiach, right? You know what I'm saying? So I just want this to be clear, right? But let's sit back and look at it on a natural level. If you know a woman done been with 150 men, you know the book of Ezekiel say that we opened our feet to everybody that passed by. You know what I'm saying? He said we were contrary to other whores, and that we give our hire to our lovers and we get nothing in return. You know what I'm saying? This is why he described us, right? A natural man, you know this woman done been 150 men. And this man tell you, go marry that woman. You niggas ain't gonna go do it. You wouldn't even be able to overlook it. Ask yourself a question. What did Jacob love about Rachel when he saw her? He didn't even know her. You know he couldn't have fell in love with just how she looked, because that's pure unadulterated lust. The book said he loved her. He put it in Hosea's heart, go love this woman. And that's showing you that love is not an emotion. Jacob showed his love to her by action. We read that in Hosea 12. It said he served for a wife. He kept sheep for a wife. He showed the manifestation through action that he loved this woman. And this is what Hosea is going to get ready to do. I love this woman. So there are things that I'm going to do because I love this woman. It wasn't a fluttery feeling inside of him. Because I guarantee you, natural man going to be like, shoot, you know what, Father, yeah, I love you now. I really do. I ain't married it. Hold on. I can't do that. I got to draw a line. I don't want her. I want that one. But I told you to marry that one. So the people can see how much I love them. That was the purpose of him telling him to do that. So the people could see how much I love them. Come over here to Romans chapter 7. See, we missed that because we don't want to look at it in the aspect that Yashar'al was a dirty, filthy whore. And that she laid with everybody. She stayed tooting her butt in the air, and whoever wanted it, it was his. It didn't matter if it was Tammuz. It didn't matter if it was Allah. It didn't matter if it was Baal. It didn't matter who it was. It didn't matter if it was what's this nigga name, man? I can't remember his name. Rimfram. It didn't matter. Zilcom. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. We really need to look at our people in that aspect. That we were the woman that in the natural sense no man would want for his wife but Yah. That's why the book tell you that the prostitutes, the publicans, and then the harlots will get in before you, because these are the type of people that he gonna look at and have mercy on. The people that people look at as refuse. You know what I'm saying? Straight them down. I knew a woman who was a prostitute. The only reason why she didn't get on because she didn't want to. It wasn't because that the mercy wasn't extended. She just wanted to do what she wanted to do. At the end of the day, that was it. And I'm talking about a real live prostitute. I ain't talking about sleeping with some random niggas here and there and they drop some change on her. I'm talking about really tricking. Like niggas sell dope. Like that was her life. That's how she lived. You know what I'm saying? I knew plenty of prostitutes. We never looked down on them. That's just what they did. We don't agree with it, but that's what you do to survive. It is what it is. How can I say anything? I'm selling crack over here. So, you know what I'm saying? And that's how he looked at us. We were a whore. And he said, you know what? I still love you, though. And we know that most men are not going to do that. Most men don't have that type of love in them to overlook it. Most women don't think that most men will overlook it. That's why they won't tell them. Do you know what I'm saying? But if a man really loves you and care about you, he don't care nothing about that. Only thing he don't care about is you not being honest with it. Most men don't really care nothing about that. If he care about you, he care less. Some men be like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. Thank y'all that he's not a man. Because if he was a man, we'd be in trouble. Romans chapter 7, right? He said, know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the Torah, how that the Torah have dominion over a man as long as he live. For the woman which have a husband is bound by the Torah to her husband so long as he live. But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the Torah of her husband. So then if while her husband lives, she be married to another man, she be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from the Torah, that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. We were an adulteress because we were sleeping with other gods while our husband was still alive. So our behavior necessitated that Mashiach had to die. Because of our behavior, because of our whorish behavior. See, when he told you that you had to sit back and look at those fringes, they were for you to not go after your own heart. Because he tells you in Jeremiah chapter 3 that Yashar'al had a whore's forehead. She refused to be ashamed. See, hold on. Let me look at something in Proverbs chapter 29. Then we come back to 1 Kings 18. Proverbs 29. If it ain't 29, it's 30. So I know exactly what it is that I want to read. Drop on you real quick like. Where's that doggone verse? think it's at the end of 30. At the end of 30. Where is it at? 30 and 20. 30 and 20. Look at what it says. Well, actually 18. 30 and 18. There are three things which are too wonderful for me, yea, for which I know not. The way of an eagle in the air, the way of a serpent upon a rock, the way of a ship in the midst of the sea, and the way of a man with a maid. Such is the way of an adulterous woman. She eat and wipe her mouth and saith, I have done no wickedness. That's how we was. That's how Yashar'al was. We wipe our mouth. I ain't did nothing wrong. Why you judging me? Why you bringing wrath on me? What have I done? That was our way, as the way of adulterous woman. I have done no wickedness. Sit there and eat a nigga sandwich and wipe your mouth and say, I ain't ate it. And he still loved us. Come on back to Hosea chapter 3. And he still loved us. I really want y'all to understand how much this man loved us. I don't really think we really know how much this man loved us. We say it, I don't think we know though. Listen what he tell you. I've definitely got to crank it up. It's 10:35. He say, so I bought her to me for 15 pieces of silver, and for a homer of barley, and a half a homer of barley. And I said unto her, thou shalt abide for me many days, and thou shalt not play the harlot, and thou shalt not be for another man. So will I also be for thee. Now, I didn't read the next verse of Romans chapter 7 when he say you're free from the law because of your husband dying. And we're going to come back to Romans 7. But that man say that you're not going to play the harlot no more. You're not going to commit fornication. You're not going to be unfaithful to Elohim. You're not going to be a prostitute. You know the book says that there shall be no whores amongst the daughters of Yashar'al. So he had to do something because we had became a whore. Our people still whoring themselves to this day. I seen a brother claim me in the word. He practicing Buddhism at the same time. He whoring. He's a whoring right now. Making offerings and sacrifices to another god. And for what? Because that God will let him smoke weed and hit holes or whatever it is that he doing. He ain't violating Torah. Bet you lying. Listen what he tell you. For the children of Yashar'al shall abide many days without a malak, and without a prince, and without a sacrifice, and without an image, and without an ephod, and without a teraphim. Now when we look at without an image, that word for image right there is a pillar. And that word is metzava. And it's a stock or a stump of a tree, but we got to come back to that. I ain't going to be able to get that tonight. I got something for them pillars. We got to return for that. But that teraphim though, that is an idol, a family idol, a household shrine used for worship. That's what that is. He just say, and you're going to be without that for many days. We'll sit back and look at a few people who had some old teraphims in their house. It also told you that you be without an ephod, which is an outer garment worn by the priest. You got stuff worn by the ordinary priest that was made of white, and then you got the high priest garment, which was very, very nice, as you already know. Well, some of you already know. And that garment is spoke about in Exodus chapter 28. But we're not finna look at that tonight. We don't have time. That's not really what we're really here for. Let's look at Genesis 31. Pick it up about verse 17. And then you know we got to go holler at old Judges 17. And then you're going to see another place where the same word teraphim is used, that is used in reference to idolatry. You got to be careful with that idolatry, man. And the point of what we're going to be looking at when we look at when that word is referenced for idolatry in this other location. Because I'm telling you, idolatry is in kin with lawlessness. Don't let nobody lie to you and tell you different. Genesis 31 and 17. Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and his wives upon camels. He carried away all his cattle and all his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting which he had gotten in Padaram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's. This is the same word here for image used for this teraphim. She stole his idols. If y'all remember the story, y'all know what happened when she stole these idols. Let's sit back and let's look at what that thing had. The way she sit back and drop down a little bit. About verse 25. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mount of Gilead. Laban said to Jacob, what hast thou done? Thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives taken with the sword. Wherefore did thou flee away secretly and steal away from me, and did not tell me, that I might have sent thee away with mirth and with songs and with tabret and with a harp? And thou hast not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters. Thou hast done foolishly in so doing. Is it in the power of my hand to do you hurt? But the Elohim of your father spake unto me yesternight, saying, Take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. And now thou would needs be gone, because thou sore long after thy father's house. Yet wherefore hast thou stolen my goods? Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Peradventure thou would take by force thy daughters from me. With whomsoever thou find thy gods, let him not live. Before our brethren discern thou what is in thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. Now you sit back and look at it. Jacob didn't know that Rachel had stole these gods, but Rachel showed herself to be a soldier, that she was disgusted with these idolatrous gods and took them with her, that her father may not serve them anymore. And his father came looking for these teraphims, looking for these images. And niggas still have these images up to this day, serving these false gods. Because he said you go along many days without one. And unfortunately, we've picked that ball up again, and we got plenty of images everywhere. You can find that stinking cracker Caesar Borgia hanging up on niggas' walls. Niggas got crosses tattooed on their body, crosses tattooed on their face, crosses tattooed, wearing on chains. You Caesar Borgia on chains. You know what I'm talking about? Crescents and moons and all manner of idols that we serve and worship. And that's what Laban was on. And Rachel decided to take him. For one cause and one cause alone, and that was to destroy them. Nevertheless, let's look at Genesis chapter 35. And then we didn't read all the way what Rachel did. Rachel even ran the game on him and told her she was on her cycle, so that he wouldn't find them gods. That's how she was disgusted with him. Genesis 35. See, Rachel didn't sit back and play no games and halt between two opinions. Oh, that's my daddy and his gods, and Jacob serves Yah. She says, shoot, pops, whatever. Screw you and your gods. I'm going to take them with me. She just didn't tell him she took them. I ain't mad at her. Genesis 35 and 1, though. I ain't mad at her at all. Take them and destroy them. After that, Judges 17. Said Elohim said unto Jacob, Arise and go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make there an altar unto Elohim that appeared unto thee when thou fled from the face of Esau thy brother. Then Jacob said unto his household, Put away, and to all that were with him, Put away the strange gods that are among you, and be clean, and change your garments. And that's also another example when she tells him that she is on the manner of women, that she's unclean, because idols will make you unclean. This is why Jacob here is telling you to put them away and make yourself clean. Purge yourself from the uncleanness of the idols that are in you and make yourself clean. Those idols also are the things that are in your heart, because idolatry leads to lawlessness. That's why he told you to put them away. Let's look at Judges 17. And this is what Jezebel got going on, what we looking at, going through all this for a reason, before we look at the cleansing of the people. This is what Jezebel got going on amongst the people with them serving Baal. Well, really Ahab stamping her serving Baal, because she was serving Baal before he met her. He went along with it. And that's why he tell you not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers, and not to deal with them, because you will eventually capitulate to them. Like we seen, that's why the kingdom got split. That's what Solomon did. I don't care how strong you think you are. You want to please your wife. You want to please your husband. You want them to be happy with you. You want them to be happy with you. So you start to make concessions here, and you start to make concessions there. And the next thing you know, you're in a den of iniquity, and you're wondering how you got here. Judges 17 and 5. I'll make it 4, actually. Actually, we got to start at 1. And there was a man of Mount Ephraim whose name was Micah. He said unto his mother, 1,100 shekels of silver that were taken from thee, about which thou cursed, and spake of also in my ears, Behold, the silver is with me, and I took it. And his mother said, Baruch be thou of Yahuwah, my son. And when he had restored the 1,100 shekels of silver to his mother said, I wholly dedicated the silver unto Yahuwah from my hand, for my son, to make a graven image and a molten image. Now therefore I will restore it unto thee. Do you know how wicked that got to be? That this woman said that I took this money and dedicated it for my son to make an idol with it. This is how evil our people was, and that we thought Yah would accept it. And this is another example how we can do evil in Yah's name and have no problem doing it. That's why knowing the name of Yah is not going to move nobody, because they knew it. And this woman just said, I gave this money to Yah for you to do exactly what Exodus 20 told you not to do. Yet he restored the money unto his mother, and his mother took 200 shekels of silver and gave them to the founder, who made thereof a graven image and a molten image, and they were in the house of Micah. And the man Micah had a house of gods, and made an ephod and teraphim, and consecrated one of his sons, who became his priest. And in those days there was no Malach in Yashar'al, but every man did that which was right in his own eyes. So not only did he make him gods, but he made a man a priest who ain't had no business being no priest. So he done consecrated somebody to teach the word who ain't got no business teaching it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because that's who he wanted to teach it. He's got a house full of idols, and he feeling good by himself, and he even made him a garment to cover himself, which that goes back to Isaiah chapter 30. He said, they covereth with a garment, but not of my ruach, and they take counsel, but not of me, that they may add sin to sin. And that's exactly what he's doing. And that's exactly what Ahab had going on. And that's exactly what Omri had going on. And that's exactly what Jeroboam had going on. That's what these people were about. Let me have a house full of gods that I made with my own hands. And let me even make a priestly garment so I can feel good about myself. And let me even make some more image. You can be a priest. You can be a priest because you know a little bit of word. You know a little bit, son. You can teach, son. You can do it. You can do it. Everybody come on. Because we already read Jeroboam made the most base men priests. He made the most wicked men he could find priests and set them up. Say, y'all come on and do it. Why? Because y'all going to tell me what I want to hear. That's it. And that's what idolatry leads to. Lawlessness. 1 Samuel 15 and 23. They say idolatry comes in many forms. Whether it be covetousness. And what we're about to read here in 1 Samuel. And it don't got to be just a God you made. It could be people, places, or things. That's why he say, little children, flee from idols. Little children, flee from idols. 1 Samuel 15, 23. He say, for rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry, because thou hast rejected the word of Yahuwah. He have also rejected thee from being king. That word for idolatry in this very verse is the same word in Hosea chapter 3, which is that teraphim, which is that image or an idol set up. So when we sit back and you look at what is this image, if he say that stubbornness, which is rebellion, which is I'm going to do what I want to do, I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to be corrected. I'm not going to be reproved. He that heart of his neck is destroyed suddenly, and that without remedy. He said that is just as it's iniquity and idolatry. You lawless, and you have gods in your heart that you've made and you set up. And now let's go to Philippians chapter 3. That's why I've been telling you, and I done told y'all this in the past, we just attacking it different. Truth be told, if you deal with this word on a regular and consistent basis, you're going to see the same concepts in a different way from different story every time if you really going through it. But you got to understand it. So this stuff is written for our learning. We should not be making the same mistakes that our ancestors made when it's right here in our face. We shouldn't be making those mistakes. Not again. Not again. We shouldn't be making the mistakes. Not at all. Why are we making those same mistakes when we got these chances to be warned not to do them? We seen their fate. We seen what happened. Philippians 3 and what? 17, 18. He say, for many walk, of whom I've told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are the enemies of the stake of Mashiach, which we're about to see. Whose end is destruction, which we're about to see. Whose Elohim is their belly, whose esteem is in their shame, who mind earthly things. When you got them images set up in your heart, when we just sit back and look at it, what did Micah mind? Silver to make his own god. Vain esteem by making his own priest. Making cakes to Queen of Heaven. What did they make them for? For their own bellies. What did they do that for? Why is Ahab setting up these house of Baal? for his wife. He minded earthly things. And that's why I mentioned that earlier when we sit back and we look at choosing our God as representative of choosing a mate. Why do you say you want things that's of Shamahim and spiritual things and choose a carnal man or woman? What type of sense does that make? That meaning that your God is your belly. You mind earthly things and you an enemy of the state. Because there's no way in the world that you would choose somebody who was opposite of what you say you represent. Why would you want to be close personal friends with people who are opposite of what you say you represent? You know what I'm saying? I remember it was mentioned to me, and it's no disrespect. This is just being real. Nigga was like, okay, I don't know what he do. You absolutely right. A nigga don't. Unless you know me and you around me an extended period of time, then you know that my life consists of two things: labor and solitude. You know what I'm saying? I don't even have no time to sleep. By the time I get up, I'm hustling, then I go to the gym, then I might have to preach, then I'm driving all night. There's nobody calling me saying, I want to hang out with you. There's no women calling me like, come see me. You know what I'm saying? I'm desperate to talk to you. I need to see you. I need to talk to you. That's not happening because the nigga don't want to have that conversation. I told y'all a while back, so I picked up some woman, she talking about, oh, I want to get to know you, I want to be with you, this, that, then, the third. No, you don't. You know what I'm saying? You say that, but no, you don't. Because once I open my mouth and you see what I'm about, and that you see I'm really about that, then you no longer want to have these conversations. You actually don't want to be around a nigga because that's blocking what you're trying to do. Because I'm not with what you're trying to do. And I'm not going to participate in what you're trying to do. So then you know what this ends up happening is people don't want to talk to you. And people don't want to be around you. You know what I'm saying? That are not on what you own. They don't want to have that conversation with you. They don't want to see you. They want to be around you. The only reason why sinners can feel that comfortable being around you is because you allow them to be that comfortable because you're making concessions with them. So they're comfortable. Because they know you own what I'm on. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about a consistent pattern of holla at me. I want to do this with you. I want to do this with you. I want to do this with you. Because you end up doing things with them that you wouldn't do with the Kadeshim. That's not right. That doesn't make sense. You should be the same, doing the same things that you would do around the sinner that you would do with those who are sanctified in Yahuwah. You shouldn't be, I'll do this here because, you know, this is different because I'm with them. That's being imbalanced. That's halting between two opinions. And that's appeasing someone who doesn't need to be appeased. Nevertheless, first Kings 18, because it's almost 11 o'clock. You know, praise the Lamb, most of y'all got families. Most of y'all married, so you don't have that problem. You go home to your wife or your husband. Where we at? We stopped at 21. We're in 22. First Kings, chapter 18, and verse 22. Because I got to hit this last point. I got to knock this out. That part we will not get to today. We will definitely not get that today. All right, y'all. Let's get it. Then said Elijah unto the people, I, even I only, remain a prophet of Yahuwah, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. Let them therefore give us 2 bullocks, and let them choose 1 bullock for themselves, and cut it in pieces, and lay it on wood. Put no fire under. And I will dress the other bullock and lay it on wood, and put no fire under. And you will call on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of Yahuwah. And the Elohim that answered by fire, let him be Elohim. And all the people answered and said, It is well spoken. Elijah said unto the prophets of Baal, Choose you 1 bullock for yourselves, and dress it, for you are many. And call on the name of your gods, and put no fire under. And they took the bullock which was given them, and they dressed it, and called upon the name of Baal from morning even unto noon, saying, O Baal, hear us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered. And they leaped upon the altar which was made. And it came to pass at noon that Elijah mocked them, and said, Cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is talking, or he is pursuing, or he is in a journey, or peradventure he sleep and must be waked. Anybody know how that line up with the master? Anybody got any idea how that line up with the master? Anybody got any idea? When the master was on the stake, what happened at noon? Does anybody know what happened at noontime? What occurred? Don't everybody answer at one time now. So clearly nobody answered a nigga sleep. 1 or 2. So nevertheless, when he was up there on the stake at noon, it went dark. After that, it states in Matthew 26 or Mark 14 or Luke 23 that after that happened, that the people began to mock him and told him to call on Elohim because they looked at him as a prophet of Baal. Do you not realize that they called him a blasphemer and said that he was a false prophet because he said he was the son of Elohim? Therefore, in the eyesight of the people, was he not laid upon wood? Were they not cutting him up with these nails? Was he not looked upon as a false prophet? And they said that he was calling upon his God, yet his God did not answer. They say maybe he be sleeping, he need to be woke. They mocked him in the same fashion. Nevertheless, and they cried aloud and cut themselves after their manner with knives and lances till blood gushed out upon them. We'll go back to Leviticus 19. Don't be cutting yourself for the dead. And it came to pass when midday was past, they prophesied unto the time of offering of the evening sacrifice, that there was neither voice nor any to answer, nor any that regarded. And Elijah said unto all the people, come near unto me. And all the people came near unto him. And he repaired the altar of Yahuwah that was broken down. Elijah took 12 stones according to the number of tribes of the sons of Jacob, unto whom the word of Yahuwah came, saying, Yashar'al shall be thy name. And with the stones he built the altar in the name of Yahuwah. And he made a trench about the altar as great as would contain 2 measures of seed. And he put the wood in order and cut the bullock in pieces and laid him on the wood and said, fill 4 barrels of water and pour it on the burnt sacrifice and on the wood. And he said, do it the second time, and they did it the second time. And he said, do it the third time, and they did it the third time. And water ran about the altar when he filled the trench also with water. And it came to pass at the time of the offering of the eating sacrifice that Elijah the prophet came near and said, Yahuwah Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and of Yashar'al, let it be known this day that thou art Elohim and Yashar'al, and that I am thy servant, and that I have done all these things at thy word. Hear me, O Yahuwah, hear me, that this people may know that thou art Yahuwah Elohim, and that thou hast turned their heart back again. Then the fire of Yahuwah fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice and the wood and the stones and the dust and licked up the water that was in the trench. And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and they said, Yahuwah, he is the Elohim. Yahuwah, he is the Elohim. Now we got to sit back and we got to go through a couple concepts of what we see through this. Number one, if he's taking the bullock and he's cutting the bullock up, you know what we're going to get from that? Blood. Clearly you see the water is placed upon the altar, but also you see that he makes this prayer at the time of evening sacrifice. And that when he did this, that this would turn the people back to Elohim, and that when the people seen this, they returned. And they said, truly, this is Elohim. Let's check it. Exodus chapter 24. Let's get it in the law, and let's see what's going on. Let's see if we get blood and water bearing witness to a covenant. Because what we're looking at is that when a man... Well, let me read Hebrews 9 and 17 first. Because I got to hit you with this naturally and spiritually of what was actually occurring here and what was trying to be brought about. And what you need to look at when you... Because this is what hit my head when I was telling you I was thinking about the covenant that he was asking about, the natural covenant, or written covenant. When you get married, you have to understand something. When you get married to Yah and when you get married naturally, you need to understand something. 9 and 17. We'll make it 9 and 15. For this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, that they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. Now, you seeing this here. Though they not enter the covenant, you seeing the works of a covenant being brought about, lining up with the testimony of Mashiach, that you might receive the redemption of eternal inheritance. He say, for where a testament is, there also is of a necessity be the death of the testator. For a testament is of force after men are dead. Otherwise, it is of no strength at all while the testator live. Well, we'll just keep on going this here, and we don't got to read Exodus 24 because he's about to tell us this in Exodus 24. He said, for when Moses had spoken every precept to all the people according to the Torah, he took the blood of calves and of goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop and sprinkled both the book and all the people, saying, this is the blood of the testament which Elohim have joined unto you. Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry. And almost all things are by the Torah purged with blood, and without shedding of blood is no remission. Now you can go pull Exodus 24 and you'll see what he just quoted there. which is the fact of that the people were sprinkled with blood and water to join the covenant, and that the blood and water bear witness in the earth. Because we know that he bare witness from Shamahim and Aras. There have to be witnesses in the earth to this covenant. That's what I was explaining to my cousin. That when you look at them having a marriage license and it's witness between 2 or 3 people, that they just getting that from us. So when Yah entered into his physical covenant, which he wrote on the 2 tables of stone, which were placed in the Ark of the Covenant, there still had to be witnesses to that. And that blood and the water were the witnesses in the earth. Let's look at John chapter 19 and verse 30. And then after that, 1 John chapter 5. And then we'll sit back and look at how that moved to turn the people back to Yah. To turn the people back. And that's the whole objective. 19 and 30. 19 and 30. And think about that when you get married. You enter into a covenant. And if a covenant is not of any effect while the testator of the covenant is alive, then this is telling you something on the natural level, which you see should also play over into the spiritual level. That which if you are not ready to do that on a natural level, then you don't need to get married. If you're not willing to do that. Because they say a testament is of no effect while the testator live. It's of no effect. John 19 and 30. Say, when Yahushua therefore had received the vinegar, he said, it is finished, and he bowed his head and gave up the ruach. The Yahudim therefore, because it was the preparation that the body should not repent upon the stake on the Shabbat day, for that Shabbat day was a high day, besought Pilate that the legs might be broken, and that they might be taken away. Then came the soldiers and brake the legs of the first and of the other which was crucified with him. But when they came to Yahushua and saw that he was dead already, they brake not his legs. But one of the soldiers with the spear pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. And he that saw it bear record, and his record is true, and he know that he saith true, that you might believe. Now I have to paraphrase this part, but I'm going to tell you what all this is. Now, how did Mashiach recreate a covenant exactly how it was in the law? Well, do you have to remember from Psalms 118 and Isaiah 28 that he's called the chief cornerstone, and that a stone. And then when you go to read Isaiah 49 about verse 14, I want to say somewhere in there, you say that he's saying that we were engraven on the palms of his hands. So those nails are the tools to engrave on the stone. Therefore, because Yahushua had the Ruach come upon him when he was immersed, and that the covenant was in him, or the word was in him, therefore you see that, and also that he is the word made flesh, that you see that he is those words written on the table of stone when those nails are placed into him, and it's the covenant being etched on stone in his body. So when you see that blood and water coming out, that's where you see the recreation of what happened in Exodus 24, so that he could marry his wife, who was this adulteress that we already spoke about in Hosea. And now we can read Romans 7 and 5. Because we know that he had to die to take his wife back. He couldn't remarry his wife because he had divorced her and put her away, and she had been with another man. Therefore the land had been defiled. So therefore he had to devise a means to bring his wife back. That means was to buy her back for a homer of barley and 15 pieces of silver. And he said, you're going to be for me, and I'm going to be for you. That's what he told him. That's why Paul say, I'm jealous over you over God with a godly jealousy. That he say that I've espoused you as a chaste virgin under one man, because now all things have been made new. Now you got stupid niggas that say, oh, your first marriage didn't count because you wasn't in the truth. Don't let nobody lie to you. Let's sit back and look at it, right? None of us wasn't no virgin before you got immersed, before you got in the word. You getting immersed don't all of a sudden make you a virgin again, but it makes you pure in the eyesight of Elohim. So all those things that you did previous to that are gone. All your idolatrous worship, your whoring, because that's really what I'm referring to, versus actual sexual activity with a human being. All your idolatrous and your adultery and your whoremongering with all the many different gods that you laid with, that stuff gone, and you're a pure woman again. You're a pure woman again. Some of y'all may have only laid with one God, and that's the God of Christianity. And some of y'all may have laid with many different gods, searching out many different things. And some of you may have laid with no gods because you were indifferent and you didn't really care. You just were going with the flow. Romans 7 and 5. Well, 7 and 4 actually. Say, wherefore, my brethren, ye also are become dead to the Torah by the body of Mashiach, that ye should be married to another, even to him who is raised from the dead, that we should bring forth fruit unto Elohim. Remember, because he said that in James, we read that, right, that the earth will give her fruit. Because see, when we look at returning back, he said he'll pull the hearts back. Now, I notice it said the fire licked up the burnt offering. We know that's referring to the furnace of affliction. When Mashiach said, can you be baptized with the baptism that I be baptized with? And should you drink from the cup that I drink from? He said, because I shall be immersed with fire. He said, this man will immerse you with water in the Ruach HaKodesh and with fire. Well, I should say that he said, John the Baptist said he would be immersed with water. But Yahushua would be immersed with the Ruach HaKodesh and with fire. When you see that fire licking up, because remember, he laid the bullock on wood. The master was laid on tree, was laid on a wood. He was cut up, just like the bullock was. And that blood and that water from that bullock and that burnt offering is symbolizing the bringing back of the covenant, because it said it caused the people to return. And they said Yahuwah was Elohim. Now let's look at something in Acts chapter 3 when they talk about causing the people to return. I'm going to get to the natural level of what I'm talking about on the covenant in a moment. So you can naturally see that how you should, what this covenant is showing, how you should operate in a marriage. That if you get this covenant and you marry this man or you marry this woman, you're making a statement, and it goes back to Adam. Revelation chapter 3. Acts chapter 3. I don't know why I said Revelation chapter 3. Make sure I got the right verse that I desire. What is 3 and 19? This is not 3 and 19. No, it's not. I know exactly how it's worded, but it's not 3 and 19. It might be chapter 4. This is 13. Give me a second, man. Hold on. The verse in my head, I can't recall where it is at the time. The verse is definitely in my head, though. Oh, that's right, because that's what I was thinking about. Don't fit what we got going on. But we'll come over here and look at Acts chapter 26, though. Acts 26 got what I'm thinking about, though. That definitely does. Acts chapter 26. (26) and about 18. Just 26 and 18. We finna get ready to slide on out of here, man. Acts 26 and 18. It says to open their eyes and to turn them from darkness to light and from the power of Hashatan unto Elohim, that they may receive forgiveness of sins and inheritance among them that are sanctified by the faith that is in me. Now, nevertheless, when you look at this 1 Kings 18, and he sat back and he said that this would cause their heart to turn back. It's also referring to that circumcision of the heart. Because he said, we talked about this last week, that you were redeemed with the circumcision made without hands. So when we look at the circumcision that's made without hands, it was by reason of the sacrifice that Elijah brought forth. It would cause the people to return. Also that part where it said the people fell on their faces and they said, oh, Yahuwah is Elohim, he is the Elohim, takes you when after the master had been sacrificed and the veil in the temple rent, that Roman centurion says, surely this is the son of Elohim. After he bare witness to the sacrifice, he had to confess that Yahuwah was Elohim when he saw that. The same way that your ancestors sat back and seen that, and they confessed that surely Yahuwah is Elohim. Clearly, again, showing us how the whole book is about him and how we could place our faith in him. We read earlier in John 7 where it said that this was not yet given because he had not yet been esteemed. This lines up to when you see that it had not started raining until Elijah had made this sacrifice. Therefore the Ruach had not yet been given in this instance until Yahuwah was esteemed. But nevertheless, what was I finna hit? Let me hit this. Let's hit this Ephesians 5 and 22. Ephesians 5 and 22. and you'll sit back and look at this on a natural level as far as being married is concerned. Because if a man's going to sit back and he's going to marry a woman, then he has to realize that he's entered into a covenant and he's got to die for this woman. And then we'll sit back and we'll look at how that pertains to Adam. Because when we look at Adam, he said it wasn't good for Adam to be alone. You go to Ephesians 5:22. It wasn't good for Adam to be alone. He said, therefore he'll make a helpmeet for him. It said Adam entered into a deep sleep, therefore meaning that Adam had died. And then after that, we turn around and we see that Eve, when she did what she did, she died. And then we know that Adam died with her. And then he told Eve that her desire would be to her husband and that she would serve her husband. So in dying, she had to serve her husband. And in dying, it said Adam had to labor by the sweat of his brow to serve his wife. So when you get married, and it says a testament is of no effect as long as the testator lives, but that they have to die. When you turn around and you say that you're going to marry a man and you're going to marry a woman, then both of you are entering into this covenant and saying that you are going to die to yourself to serve the other person. If you don't do this, therefore your covenant is of no effect, and therefore you have not maintained your vows, like we read earlier, because we didn't read it where it said in Exodus 24, which we should have read, I mentioned reading it, because it said all these words we will do. This is what the people said. And like we read earlier, it's what he said. What did he maintain for you? To make the offer of thanksgiving and to keep your vows, to keep your word, to do what you say you're going to do. So when you get into this covenant with this man, everything a part of this covenant you said you will do. Well, when you enter into a covenant with a woman to be your wife, and she enters into a covenant with you to be her husband, everything that the word of Elohim says a man or a woman is to do, you saying you will do. That means you have to die to serve one another. And therefore, you manifest the righteousness of Elohim in that, because the man is serving his wife as Yahushua served Yashar'al, and the wife is serving her husband as Yashar'al serves Yahushua. And therefore, the righteousness of Elohim is made manifest in that marriage. And this is how you're dwelling with your wives according to knowledge, which we done dealt with in the past. Ephesians 5:22. He said, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband as unto the master. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Mashiach is the head of the body, and he's the savior of the body. Therefore, as the body is subject unto Mashiach, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as Mashiach also loved the body and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself an esteemed body, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be kadesh, without blemish. So men ought to love their wives as their own bodies, and he that love his wife love himself. Now Mashiach said, in the way to love have no man in this, that a man lay his life down for his friends. This is what he said. Because he knew that this testament, you being able to receive the Ruach HaKodesh, could not be manifested unless he laid his life down. He had to do that to make that testament of effect. If you want to make your marriage be of effect, then you have to lay your life down for your wife, and your wife has to lay her life down for you. And both of you have to die to self to serve one another. And therefore you'll be able to serve Yahuwah Ba'Shem Yahusha flawlessly. If both of you have this mind and operate in that fashion, you'll be able to do it flawlessly. Flawlessly. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't have the mind to, I'm going to die to serve, then you won't be able to die to serve Yahusha like he died to serve you. Because Adam died to serve his wife. His wife died to serve her husband. And that's what you're seeing to bring forth. We didn't get to 1 John chapter 5. I got to grab that in a minute. And all this is bringing forth to bring forth the power of the covenant, so that you can offer your thanksgiving, your sacrifices of thanksgiving with your lips under Elohim, and to keep your word to serve him with the whole heart and the whole mind and the whole soul, because the sacrifice caused you to return. That's what the whole part of the new covenant was for, was to be able to allow a means for his wife to return. That's why we read that in Hosea. That's why I mentioned all of that stuff about choosing a mate and all that before, because it was all the cause so that this woman could come back. Because he didn't want another woman. He wanted his wife. and he wanted her to come back. So he came up with a plan so she could come back. And that's how we ought to be able to see the manifestation of Yah and to understand his favor, because that woman was not owed that manner of love. She didn't deserve that love. She had done nothing to get that type of love done to her. All she did was be whorish. All she did was be disobedient. All she did was flee. All she did was be stubborn. All she was rebellious. He still loved her though. He was still willing to take her back if she returned. He was still willing to do that. So we had to sit back and know that we got to return, and he'll receive you. He'll receive you if you return. But we refuse to return. Which I didn't even grab the stuff in Hosea 11, but nevertheless. Let me finish this Ephesians 5. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourished and cherished it, even as the master of the body. For we are members of the body, of his flesh and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery I speak concerning Mashiach and the body. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself. And the wife see that she reverence her husband. And notice how he ended that. You're born of another. So if both of you are saying that you're entering into this covenant to die, then you're saying that you're coming into, I will no longer be selfish and seek out my own desire and my own aims and own means. I'm here to serve you as you are here to serve me. And you will be manifesting the love of Mashiach. You'll be manifesting the love of Elohim. This is why he say Elohim is love. And those that are in love are in Elohim. If you understand what the love of Elohim is, to manifest it. That's what we have to look at. To be able to manifest it, you got to move as he, got to walk as he walked. Like he told you in 1 John, you got to walk as he walked. That you would be willing to serve your wife, and that your wife would be willing to serve you, and that both of you had died to your own will, your own pleasures, your own desires, and therefore you show forth the love of Elohim, that all men see your marriage and would repent. That's why he say if the woman to win people without the word. We don't even understand how to win people without the word, because we just want to tell them about it, versus you can show forth the kingdom of Shamahin here on the earth by obeying the gospel and living it, and they can see it. And they can see it. They can see it. They can see it. You don't even realize you could be preaching the word by how you operate your marriage, that the word would be preached, because they would see the word being preached, they would be condemned. This man has multiple different ways of condemning people without the word, without a man even uttering his mouth. Uttering a word and opening his mouth. If we just understand the sacrifice and move accordingly. Nevertheless, 1 John chapter 5. Because at the end of the day, we talked about this before with the 4 S's. The sanctification, the sufferance, the service, and the sacrifice. That these things lead to salvation. And that main thing is that service. Because anything you love, you're going to protect it. Anything you love, you're going to cherish it. Anything you love, you're going to nourish it. You're going to teach it. You're going to guide it. You're going to chastise it. You're going to correct it. You're going to discipline it. No, he tell you that in 1 Corinthians 13. Love endureth all things. So it perseveres. It goes through all things. It's not selfish. It doesn't think any evil. It don't do no evil. We can't sit back and say we have love in our heart and we only care about what we want and when we get it. Because then we only thinking about ourselves. And Elohim did not do that when he manifested himself on this earth by thinking about what he could get. He said, I did not come to be ministered unto. I came unto minister. I came to serve my wife. And therefore in me serving my wife ought to serve me. Just like the law says. Just like the law says. And then we'll be manifesting the intent of why he tell a woman to obey her husband, and why he tell a man to labor for his wife, because you would be Yahusha then, and she would be as well. And they would see it. 1 John chapter 5. But see, nobody don't tell nobody that, because I don't think nobody really cares to even look at the aspect of understanding what that means. And guess what that ends up with your children watch? Your children watch Elohim in action. They watch him in action. 1 John chapter 5 verse 5. Who is he then that overcome the world, but he that believed that Yahushua is the son of Elohim? This is he that came by water and blood, even Yahushua HaMashiach, not by water only, but by water and blood. And it is the Ruach that bear witness, because the Ruach is true. For there are three that bear record in Shamahim, the Father, the Word, and the Ruach HaKadosh, and these three are one. And there are three that bear witness in their rats, the Ruach and the water and the blood, and these three agree in one. And if we receive the witness of men, the witness of Elohim is greater. For this is the witness of Elohim, which he hath testified of his son. That's what you've seen in 1 Kings 18 and John 19 and Exodus 24. All of these things were bearing witness to his son, because there had to be 2 or 3 witnesses to establish a matter. It has to be 2 or 3 witnesses to establish a covenant, to make it of effect, to make it just, to make it true. And that if we can sit back and say, if people can sit back and see by the way that we operate in a marriage, then they see the witness of Elohim, and then they know that Elohim is true, and set to the seal that Yahushua is the son of Elohim, whom the Father sent. And therefore he gets the praise, and he gets the esteem, and he gets the honor, and possibly a soul may return unto him, which should be our objective. That, of course, you want to marry somebody because you love them, you know what I'm saying? But at the same token, we're supposed to realize that everything we do is for the service and fear of Elohim. That's our whole duty of man. And that in everything that we do, that we can bring forth his esteem and honor in every action. And that should be at the forefront of our mind. Does this person I'm going to marry, is this going to be to the esteeming of my Elohim? Because if it's not to the esteem of my Elohim, why would I marry them? Jonathan and David's friendship was to the esteem of Elohim. Would I be friends with someone if it doesn't bring esteem to Elohim in the process of our friendship and how we move? That's how we're supposed to look at it. Because you want esteem to be brought back to his name, that men may know that he is the Elohim of Shamahim and the Rats, the creator of all things. Who of his hosts is his name, that they may tremble at the thought and hearing of his name as you do. That respect is brought to his name. That's what Elijah was bringing back, what he was doing. That they had to respect this man's name. That they had to respect who he was. Now, we didn't read the verse yet, but he killed all those prophets of Baal. They damnation didn't slumber not. He came to see him. He cut them off. But I want you to come to this last part of 1 Kings 18. Most High willing, I got to finish that off on tomorrow. I know Will got something for y'all tomorrow. I don't know what he got, though. I ain't talked to him about it. I know he got something for you, though. First Kings 18, right? And verse 40 says, Elijah said unto them, take the prophets of Baal, and let none of them escape. And they took them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook of Kishon, and slew them there. And Elijah said unto Ahab, get thee up, eat and drink, for there is the sound of abundance of rain. So Ahab went up to eat and drink, and Elijah went up to the top of Carmel, and cast himself down upon the earth, and put his face between his knees. And he said to his servant, go up now and look towards the sea. And he went up and looked and said, there is nothing. He said, go again 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time that he said, behold, there arise a little cloud out of the sea like a man's hand. He said, go up say unto Ahab, prepare thy chariot and get thee down, that the rain stop thee not. And it came to pass in the meanwhile that Shamahim was black, and with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. And Ahab rode and went to Jezreel. And the hand of Yahuwah was on Elijah, and he girded up his loins and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. And y'all willing, I'll hit that part in greater detail on tomorrow. But you notice that after Yahuwah's name was esteemed and the people returned back through the sacrifice of that bullock, that burnt offering, the same way that the people's hearts were turned back by the offering of that bullock of Yahusha, and that the blood and the water sealed the covenant to make it effect, that the Ruach HaKadosh was given. But it wasn't given until he was esteemed. And then through on the reigning of the people could be saved, and that they could be able to be a partaker, to have life, to bring forth fruit, which we read in James chapter 5, which we didn't get through all that, but it's about 11:30. So y'all willing, I pull the rest of that out on the Shabbat day. But hallelujah for Yahushua and the word. Thank y'all for the word. Did y'all understand all of these things this evening? Because I know we didn't finish.